Chapter 285. It was true that the Heaven Prison City had become much quieter recently. Although there were many people walking in the city, it was a far cry from the bustling scene of the past. At noon, the teleportation formation lit up. Luli showed up with Mingyu and walked directly into the auction house. Very quickly, the teleportation array flashed continuously as countless people were teleported over. Many of the patriarchs and elders of the various families in the city came out. The lifeless Heaven Prison City seemed to have come back to life after Luli arrived, led by Zhang Yang. Luli arrived at a side chamber where Du Zheng was sitting. Two pretty maids were massaging his shoulders. He didn't stand up to greet Luli. Instead, he waved his hand and said with a smile, "Brother Lu, you are here. I won't stand on ceremony with you. Make yourself at home." Du Zheng looked to be in his 30s or 40s. He looked very refined, and his smile was like a spring breeze. It was natural to have a good impression of him. Luli actually felt comfortable that Mingyu didn't exchange pleasantries. He waved his hand to Mingyu, telling him to sit down as well. He sat next to Du Zheng, grabbed a spirit fruit from the golden table, and started munching on it. "Brother Lu, I heard that the poisonous widow went to your place yesterday." Du Zheng suddenly leaned over and revealed a wretched smile. "You didn't get tricked into bed by her, did you? This woman is very scheming. You better be careful." When men talked about beauties, the two of them seemed to get closer. Luli rolled his eyes and said, "What are you thinking? I'm not that kind of person." "Ha ha ha." Du Zheng laughed and pulled the maid behind him into his arms. "Heroes love beauties. This is the nature of men." The widow was a stunner, but she was a little scheming. However, in this world, strength was the foundation. As long as one had strength and status, what kind of woman could he not have? "Brother Lu, just don't be obsessed with women." Luli shook his head and seriously said, "I am leaving soon. I don't have time to play." "Chief Steward Du, you are overthinking. This time, I came to ask Chief Steward Du to take care of the Bai and Lu families after I leave." "No problem." Du Zheng pulled the beauty in his arms up and said with a solemn expression, "Brother Lu, are you going back to the Lu family? You don't want the northern desert?" "You're right." Du Zheng thought about it and said with disappointment, "The northern desert is too small. The central plains is the stage for the strong." "Brother Lu, you made the right decision. I thought Brother Lu would stay in the northern desert for a while. I wanted to help you unify the northern desert." Du Zheng had just come up with a big plan to give Luli a big gift. However, Luli didn't appreciate it all. He turned around and was about to leave. Naturally, Luli was disappointed. Although setting up this trap was as easy as lifting a finger for him and was not difficult at all, it still took a lot of effort. Luli saw the disappointment in Du Zheng's eyes and pursed his lips. It was true that Luli didn't like the gift, but Du Zheng had spent so much effort to befriend him. Luli had to show some respect. Luli said, "Brother Du, I am grateful that you think highly of me and are willing to make friends with me. But I like to treat my friends with sincerity, just like the Lu family. They once helped me, so I never abandon them. This is my principle." Du Zheng was deep in thought. He picked up a cup of wine and drank it in one gulp. He said, "I was wrong. I will punish myself with a cup. Alas, I have been at the Central Plains for a while, and my thinking has become distorted. I have forgotten that making friends is about sincerity, not about the exchange of interests. Brother Lu, since you call me Brother Du, I can risk my life for you at any time if you need me." Du Zheng's tone was sincere, and his words were touching. Luli, on the other hand, found it hard to believe. Making friends was not something that could be done in a day or two, nor with one or two words. It took time to see through a person's heart. Luli smiled lightly and said, "Brother Du, you are flattering me. I will be grateful if you can take care of the Bai family and the Lu family for me." "Don't worry," Du Zheng said seriously. "As long as I am at the northern desert, you can come back and scold me if anything happens to the Bai family or the Lu family." Luli could put his mind at ease after hearing Du Zheng's words. He clinked his cup with Du Zheng's and drank up. Du Zheng thought about it and asked, "Brother Lu, is it because someone from the Lu family is here to pick you up?" Du Zheng already knew a lot about Luli. Luli didn't hide anything and said, No, I need to find the Liu family by myself. Brother Du, do you know where the Liu family is? Of course, Du Zheng frowned and said, the Liu family is at the Mystic Armor region at the easternmost part of the Central Plains. If you don't have someone from the Liu family to pick you up, it will be troublesome for you to go to the Liu family. Troublesome? Lu Li and Ming Yu looked at each other and asked, how troublesome? Brother Du, isn't the Du family a big family at the Central Plains? Can you send me to the Liu family? Big family? Du Zheng shook his head with a bitter smile and said, Brother Liu, compared to the families of the northern desert, the Du family is indeed a big family. But in the Central Plains, it is nothing. Also, the Du family really can't help you at the Mystic Armor region. If you need, I can ask our family to send 2 warriors of the Noble Lord realm to protect you. Of course, Lu Li didn't need warriors of the Noble Lord realm. With Ming Yu and Yu Huaxin, he could fight against regular warriors of the Noble Lord realm. If powerful warriors of the Noble Lord realm or human sovereign realm wanted to kill him, the Du family couldn't do anything even if they sent 4 or 5 warriors of the Noble Lord realm. Lu Li turned down Du Zheng's kindness. After a moment of silence, Du Zheng asked someone to take out a pen and paper. Du Zheng drew a dot on the east and north side of the paper and said, the Mystic Armor region you're going to is at the east. If you want to go to the Central Plains from the northern desert, you can only teleport to the north of the Central Plains. So, you have to take iron-armored ships from the north of the Central Plains to the east of the Central Plains. The Central Plains is a big place. Even if nothing goes wrong on the way, it will take you at least 2 years. Iron-armored ships? There are no teleportation formations? Lu Li and Ming Yu were even more confused. There were many teleportation formations at the northern desert. How come there were none at the Central Plains? Couldn't they take the super teleportation formation from the north of the Central Plains directly to the Mystic Armor region? There are teleportation formations. Du Zheng drew a circle on the map and explained, at the Central Plains, only cities of the same level can be teleported. Cities of other levels cannot be teleported to each other. The city of Mystic Armor is one of the 12 major cities, so only the other 11 can be teleported. There's a major city at the north of the Central Plains, but the teleportation formation of the city of Mystic Armor was closed 10 years ago. Now, no teleportation formation can be used to teleport to the city of Mystic Armor. The teleportation formation of the city of Mystic Armor was closed. Lu Li was even more confused. He asked, Brother Du, you sound like the Liu family is very powerful? If so, why did they close the teleportation formation? Did something happen to the Liu family? You don't know the situation of the Liu family? The Liu family is one of the 12 royal families of the Central Plains. They have the strongest defensive bloodline at the Central Plains. They are an 8th rank family. They are the tyrants of the Central Plains. Chapter 286. After Du Zheng's explanation, Lu Li finally understood the situation. There were 12 main cities in the central state, for in the east, west, north, and south, for in the southeast, southwest, northeast, and northwest, and 4 in the central state. These main cities could be teleported between each other, but other cities could not be teleported in. Moreover, the teleportation formation in the Mystic Armor City had been shut down 10 years ago. In other words, no city's teleportation formation could send people to the Mystic Armor City. Lu Li had 2 ways to get to the Mystic Armor region. The first was to take the short-distance teleportation formation. He could teleport to somewhere near the Mystic Armor region and then go to the Mystic Armor City. But it would take a lot of time, and it would cost a huge amount of mysterious crystals. Those who could use the teleportation array in the middle state were all wealthy people, descendants of super clans. Ordinary disciples of rank 4 and rank 5 clans didn't even dare to use the teleportation array on normal days. Why? The Central Plains was too big. For example, the Mystic Armor region was only a region, but it was more than 10 times bigger than the Northern Desert. The distance between domains was very far, and it consumed a lot of energy profound stones. Naturally, it required a lot of profound crystals. Another thing was that the space in the central plains was extremely stable. Teleportation was much more difficult than in the northern desert. Therefore, it would cost a few million Xian crystals to teleport from one city to another. It would cost at least 50 million Xian crystals to teleport from one city to another. How many regions were there in the central state? There were more than 500 of them. From the north of the central prefecture to the east of the central prefecture, one had to cross at least 100 regions. 50 million Xian crystals for one region, 500 million for one region, and 5 billion for 100 regions. 5 billion Xian crystals could buy 5 or 6 stalks of rising dragon grass. How could an ordinary family be willing to spend so much? If they were disciples of the 12 royal families, it would be better. They had the royal family token and could use the teleportation formation at a discount, which was quite worth it. Lu Li was a disciple of the Lu family, but he didn't have a royal family token. Did he shout that he was the son of Lu Renhuang? Even the descendants of the Lu family would not be given a royal token. Lu Renhuang once fought against his enemies at the northern desert, which meant that the disciples of the Lu family were not completely safe. Lu Li was a stranger to the central plains. How could he give his name at random? Another way was to take the large iron-armored ships of the Chamber of Commerce, but it was much slower. It would take at least 2 years. Of course, 2 years was nothing for warriors of the Fate Wheel realm. They could spend it in closed-door cultivation. Therefore, many people would travel in large iron-armored ships. Even though safety could not be guaranteed, under normal circumstances, nothing would go wrong. 2 years. It was too long for Lu Li, but he didn't have any Xian crystals. Should he ask the Bai clan, the Cyan Phoenix clan, or even Du Zheng? Lu Li didn't want to owe such a favor. Several billion Xian crystals was not a small number. Ask the Bai family for it. That would be taking advantage of someone's precarious position, and they would be accused of extortion. Looking for Du Zheng? Lu Li and Du Zheng weren't that close yet, and he didn't want to owe him a favor. Find the Cyan Phoenix clan? This time, the Cyan Phoenix race had helped him enough, and there was still the possibility of being discovered and exterminated. Moreover, the Cyan Phoenix race also needed to buy all sorts of elixirs and spiritual materials to cultivate. He couldn't bring himself to do that. In the end, Lu Li decided to go to the Central Plains to have a look. He had 2 warriors of the Noble Lord realm with him, so he should be able to make some Xian crystals. He could earn Xian crystals while traveling. With that said, Du Zheng noticed that Lu Li was frowning in silence. Du Zheng made up his mind and said, "Brother Lu, if you must take the teleportation formation, I can talk to my family. The Du family can afford several billion Xian crystals." "No, it's okay." Lu Li waved his hand and said, "Brother Du, thank you for your kindness. I will figure out a way to get the Xian crystals." Du Zheng didn't insist. This was beyond his authority. Lu Li and Du Zheng asked more about the Central Plains. They chatted for 4 hours before they left. "Brother Lu." Lu Li stood up and was about to leave when Du Zheng grabbed his hand and said, "Teleport to the Central Plains to the Cloud City. I will send a message to my family to pick you up. I have my duty, and I cannot go to the Central Plains with you. The mountains are high and the rivers are long. We will meet again in the future. Or when you come back to the northern desert, we can have a drink." Lu Li cupped his fists and left with Mingyu without saying anything else. Du Zheng watched as Lu Li left. He sighed and said, "The Lu family doesn't know about Lu Li, but the Lu family sealed off the city 10 years ago. Something must have happened. It is understandable that they don't know about Lu Li. Will Lu Li be safe and sound on his trip to the Lu family? Lu Li, don't die. Otherwise, all my efforts will be in vain." As soon as Lu Li left the auction house, he saw a crowd of people. They were all leaders of different forces of the Thousand Island Lake. When they saw Lu Li, they bowed to him with respect. Lu Li didn't want to waste time with families that fawned on the rich and powerful. He was about to leave. He didn't want to waste time with these people. He looked at Mingyu, who flew up with Lu Li. They released their bead of life and flew towards the Bai Emperor Mountain. Mingyu flew away with Lu Li. The others looked at each other, feeling uneasy. They didn't know how they had offended Lu Li. Mingyu flew directly to the Bai Emperor Mountain without teleportation. As soon as they landed on the plaza of the Bai Emperor Mountain, Madame Yin came to greet them with a group of patriarchs of the Bai family, as if she had known that Luli would come. Bai Lung. Luli saw a familiar figure. Bai Lung had come back alive, but he had lost an arm. Even though he came with Madame Yin, he didn't look happy. At the cliff of Purgatory, Bai Lung once protected Luli. Seeing that Madame Yin was about to salute him, Luli stopped her. Then he bowed to Bai Lung and said, "Greetings, Lord Lung." Bai Lung looked better. He nodded but didn't say anything. Sensing the awkwardness, Madame Yin tried to smooth things over. "Luli, let's go to the inner hall. The banquet is ready. We are just waiting for you." No, Luli didn't like this kind of banquets. He even felt embarrassed on the Bai Emperor Mountain. He looked at Madame Yin and said, "I am here to say goodbye to Lady Qiu Xue and Lady Xiaxuan. We are friends. I have to come and say goodbye to them before I leave." Madame Yin had told them that Luli was leaving. Some of the patriarchs of the Bai family were happy, some were worried, and some had mixed feelings. "They are in the attic. I will show you there." Madame Yin waved her hand to let the others leave. She led Lu Li and Ming Yu to the open-air attic. Before they arrived at the attic, Lu Li saw two graceful figures from the distance and heard the melodious music. In the open-air attic, Bai Qiu Xue was in a white dress, looking like a fairy. She sat on the ground with her legs crossed, playing the zither. She was so focused and beautiful, like a fairy in a painting. Bai Xiaxuan was outside the open-air attic. She was in a red dress, holding a blood-red sword in her hand. She was dancing with her sword. Her posture was graceful, like an immortal. She was more beautiful when she danced with her sword. The two sisters, one in white and the other in red, one playing the zither and the other performing with her sword. They looked exactly the same. Both were stunning beauties. The scene in the open-air attic was so beautiful that people didn't have the heart to ruin it. The zither music was melodious and the sword dance was graceful. But there was a touch of sadness and loneliness, as if the two sisters were here to say goodbye to Lu Li. The two sisters didn't even look at Lu Li as if they didn't sense that someone was here. Lu Li waved his hand to let Madame Yin and Ming Yu stop. He stood in the distance and watched quietly. He stared at the two sisters as if he wanted to engrave them in the deepest part of his heart. Chapter 287. Lu Li left after 5 days. He left in the middle of the night. He didn't wake Lu Yi or say goodbye. He only left a handwritten letter. Of course, he still bid farewell to Yi Jie and the others and told them some things. Apart from the Lu family, Yu family, and the Bai family, Lu Li also told Yi Cha to send someone to the Siam Plains to investigate when he had the time. Find out about Lu Ling and bring her back if there was a chance, or tell her that she had gone to the Central Plains. He left behind a portrait of Lu Ling and told them not to force themselves if there was no chance to save her. Ghost Snake Granny of the Palace of Goddess was powerful. Yu Huashan believed that she should be at the peak of the noble Lord realm. Ghost Snake Granny was the second most powerful person in the Palace of Goddess, so the Palace Master was probably the human sovereign. Therefore, Lu Li told Yi Cha not to push himself. That was why he didn't go to the Siam Plains first. Lu Ling should be safe at the Palace of Goddess. Filial piety was the most important of all practices. He chose to go to the Lu family first. If Lu Ling knew that he had the ability to go to the Siam Plains instead of the Lu family, she would blame him as well. Furthermore, after returning to the Lu family and acknowledging their ancestors, the Lu family would immediately dispatch experts to the Ice Abyss. Powerful warriors would also be sent to the Palace of Goddess to bring Lu Ling back. This was the best of both worlds. Lu Li also bid farewell to Hunchback Tian and asked Yi Cha to get rid of the soul worms. Hunchback Tian sincerely stayed in the Lu family. He knew that the Lu family could soar in the future because Yi Jie had the Heaven Serpent fruit. Lu Li, Yu Huashan, and Ming Yu left the God Down Island quietly. They went to the Dragon Elephant Mountain at the Blood Evil Island to pay their respects to his grandpa and sixth granduncle. Then they took the iron-armored ship to the Heaven Martial Kingdom. Lu Li chose to teleport to the northern desert from the Heaven Martial Kingdom because the Z family was friendly to him. Also, Yu Huashan had to go back and make some arrangements. Of course, there was one more thing Lu Li didn't do. He had to kill the Bu family patriarch. In order to curry favor with the Yu family, the head of the Bu family had dug up his maternal grandfather's grave and killed his sixth great-uncle. If he didn't take the head of the Bu family, he wouldn't feel comfortable. The iron-armored ship activated its inhibition formation. There was no sound of wind outside, and nobody could see what was happening on the iron-armored ship. Lu Li was cultivating in the cabin with his legs crossed. Mingyu sat next to him, and Yu Huashan was controlling the iron-armored ship. The iron-armored ship was fast. It arrived at the Wuling County at dawn the next day. The reason why he came to the Wuling County was Lu Li's idea. He wanted to go to the ice abyss. Go. He informed Mingyu, and the two of them flew down towards the ice abyss. Yu Huashan didn't go. Instead, he sent messages to the Yu family to make arrangements to capture the Bu family patriarch. Mingyu carried Lu Li and ran like crazy. In just an hour, they arrived at the frigid cloud mountain. Standing on the peak of the frigid cloud mountain, Lu Li exclaimed. 1.5 years ago, he was carrying coffins nearby, being chased by iron spur wolves in the frigid cloud valley and Zhao Rue in the frigid cloud mountain. Now, he had become the leader of the most powerful force in the northern desert. Mingyu did not bring Lu Li closer to the ice abyss. Even though a beast king was killed there were other beast kings. Furthermore, there was no difference between getting close to the ice abyss and not getting close at all. Nobody in the northern desert dared to enter the abyss. Average warriors would die if they went in. Not even Lu Renhuang could come out. Father, mother. Lu Li looked to the north and said casually, I'm about to go to the central plains. Hold on for a bit longer. I will get to the mystic armor region as soon as possible and find powerful warriors of the Lu family to rescue you. The Lu family is an 8th rank family. They will be able to get you out. Something is not right. Lu Li suddenly remembered something. He turned to Mingyu and asked, Mingyu, 3 warriors of the Soul Pond realm belong to a 3rd rank family. 3 warriors of the Eternal realm belong to a 5th rank family. And 3 warriors of the Human Sovereign realm belong to a 7th rank family. What do the 8th rank families have? 30 Human Sovereign realm? I don't know. Mingyu shook his head and said, the northern desert is a small place. It is hard for there to be a Human Sovereign realm warrior. I don't know the details. I will find out when I get to the central plains. Oh, I see. Lu Li looked to the north again, waved his hand, and said, Let's go to the Yu Emperor's city and then the Heaven Martial city. Mingyu brought Lu Li back. Yu Huashan had already come back. He boarded the iron-armored ship in the wild and activated the inhibition formation to fly. This time, they didn't take the iron-armored ship to the Yu Emperor's city. After all, it was too far away. Yu Huashan flew the ship to a nearby region city and then went to the teleportation formation directly to the Yu Emperor's city. Lu Li didn't see anyone of the Yu family when he arrived at the Yu Emperor's city. He asked Yu Huashan to take him to a side chamber to rest and let him deal with his own affairs. After dark, Yu Huashan came back with a warrior. Lu Li nodded to him. Yu Huashan was efficient. The family patriarch of the Bu family was captured. Lu Li didn't even bother to kill a warrior of the Fate Wheel realm. He waved his hand to take Yu Huashan out and killed him. Yu Huashan went out again. Lu Li and Mingyu stayed at the Yu Emperor's city for a night. At daybreak, Yu Huashan had taken care of everything. Let's go. Lu Li didn't want to stay at the Yu Emperor's city for too long. After all, the family patriarch of the Yu family was his slave. He brought them to the teleportation formation and teleported to the Heaven Martial city. There were more people outside the teleportation formation when they arrived at the Heaven Martial city. Yu Huashan must have sent a message to the Z family. The chief patriarch of the Z family, Z Huanyu and Z Lian, came to greet them with a group of people. Welcome, young Master Lu. Z Huanyu was enthusiastic. After some small talk, he took Lu Li's hand and walked to the Z family compound. He said kindly, My family patriarch is waiting inside. He has been wanting to meet you. Luli wanted to leave right away, but he had no other choice. He had to follow Zi Huanyu and Zi Lian inside. After entering the courtyard of the Zi clan, they arrived outside a large hall. A handsome middle-aged man in a yellow robe with an extraordinary bearing was waiting here with another group of people. He is the family patriarch of the Zi family, Zi Huanxiao. Yu Huashan introduced Zi Huanxiao to Luli. Luli looked at the smiling middle-aged man and exclaimed. Back in the days, he and Lu Ling dreamed of joining the Zi family so that they could take the super teleportation formation to the Central Plains. But back then, the Zi family was like an immortal sect to the two siblings. They didn't even have the right to step into the Heaven Marshal City, let alone join the Zi family. Now, he walked into the Zi family compound openly. The family patriarch of the Zi family, the king of the Heaven Marshal Kingdom, was here to greet him in person. Luli knew how to behave himself since he was given face. He sped up to Zi Huanxiao, bowed and said, "Greetings, King Zi." Ha ha ha. Zi Huanxiao laughed. He helped Luli up with his strong hands and said, "Young Master Lu, I have heard about you for a long time. My little Lian has been talking about you ever since she came back from the tomb of the Dragon King. Today, I can see that you are a young hero, a dragon among men." Luli looked to Zi Lian out of instinct, who happened to be looking at him. As soon as they made eye contact, Zi Lian's cheeks blushed, and she lowered her head shyly. The feelings of a young girl were like poems, and the feelings of a married woman were like tears. The shyness of a young girl and the charm of a married woman were both weapons of murder. Luli's heart skipped a beat. He looked away, cleared his throat, and said in embarrassment, "You flatter me, Monarch Zi. I am young and ignorant, and I am not powerful enough. I have much to learn from a hero like Monarch Zi." Ha ha ha. Zi Huanxiao laughed again. His laughter was heroic and powerful. A man that could become a king was extraordinary indeed. He looked at Zi Lian lovingly. Suddenly, he sighed and said, "Young Master Lu, I heard that you are leaving the northern desert. My little girl has been depressed recently. She doesn't want to eat or drink. She hasn't even smiled. Today, as soon as you came, she hopped around like a rabbit, restless. Alas, a grown girl cannot be kept at home. How about you let her go to the Central Plains with you? She can gain experience and see the world." Chapter 288. Father. Zilian was so shy that she wanted to dig a hole in the ground. She glared at Zi Huanxiao and ran away. Zi Huanxiao laughed, and Lu Li was embarrassed. Zi Huanxiao patted Lu Li's shoulder and said, "Let's go. This girl is shy. Let's leave her alone and go for a drink." Admittedly, Zi Huanxiao's aura was so strong that he could control any situation. He walked forward first with Lu Li and the others following him. Imperial Palace. This was the first time Lu Li had seen an imperial palace. It was solemn and magnificent, showing off the style of a royal family. There was a high platform in front of them. Zi Huanxiao walked up and looked down from above. His domineering aura made people afraid to look at him directly. Lu Li was arranged to sit in the first row with Yu Huashan and Mingyu behind him. Opposite him was Zi Huangning. This was a great honor. What followed was a boring banquet with all kinds of flattery and toasts. Lu Li was drunk, so he was too embarrassed to refuse. He had to entertain the guests first, and then go to the Central Plains later. He had to take the teleportation formation of the Zi family to go to the Central Plains. By noon, Lu Li was too embarrassed to force it out with Xian energy, so he was carried away by Mingyu to rest. Zi Huaning invited Lu Li to drink after he slept for 4 hours. Lu Li didn't dare to drink anymore, or he might not be able to leave today. He asked Zi Huaning to take him to see Zi Huanxiao and asked him to take the teleportation formation to the Central Plains. Zi Huanxiao tried to persuade Lu Li to stay, but Lu Li insisted. He asked Zi Huaning to activate the teleportation formation for Lu Li. Zilian came right after Lu Li said goodbye to Zi Huanxiao. She was still blushing when she saw Lu Li. She gathered up her courage and said, "Lu Li, are you really going to the Central Plains? Are you coming back?" Lu Li thought about it and said, "Maybe I will come back. Maybe I won't. Zillian was disappointed, but she didn't say anything. She just nodded and said, "Take care. Lady Lien, take care too," Luli said and left with determination. His back was as straight as a sword, and his steps were steady. Soon, he disappeared out of the gate. Zillian stood on the spot with a terrible look on her face. She knew that after Luli left, they would never have the chance to see each other again. Russell, a man in bright yellow, walked out and stood next to Zillian. Looking at where Luli disappeared to, he said, "Liener, if you like him, go after him. Judging from Luli's style of doing things, he is a good boy and he deserves you. The northern desert only has one in recent years. If it escapes, it will be gone forever." Zillian shook her head and said, "I don't know if I like him or not. Maybe I'm more annoyed that I didn't bring him back to the Z family. There are some things and some people. Once you miss it, you'll miss it. There's no point in forcing it. Let's just leave it to fate." Zi Huanxiao nodded slightly. He had already created an opportunity for Zillian and had given her enough courage. Since this was Zillian's choice, he would not say anything else. The plaza at the Heaven Marshal City was crowded with people. They all heard that Luli was here and that the super teleportation formation was going to be activated. Without Zi Huanxiao's permission, no one had the qualifications to open the teleportation array. Is that Luli? So young. Yu Huashan is behind him. The one with the ghost mask should be Mingyu. It is Luli. As soon as Luli walked out, there came a lot of noise. Many people were discussing in a low voice. Many young ladies of small families were staring at Luli like they were crazy about him. Luli was used to this kind of scene. He walked forward indifferently and walked directly into a huge teleportation formation. Looking at Zi Huanyu, he asked, "Chief Patriarch, how many Xian crystals will it cost for one teleportation?" "No." Zi Huanyu shook his head and said with a smile, "Our king said that we cannot accept your Xian crystals. The Z family can afford it. Young Master Lu, don't worry about it." "Thank you very much." Luli nodded and said no more. Zi Huanyu poured out Xian energy. Several patriarchs quickly put in many Xian crystals and special formation stones. The teleportation formation glowed. The entire plaza trembled. Then a surge of horrifying chi and energy spread out from the teleportation formation. A ray of light shot up to the sky. The light was getting brighter and brighter. In the end, Lu Li and the two patriarchs disappeared in the teleportation formation. The dragon is flying to the sky. When the light from the teleportation formation died down, Zi Huanyu exclaimed, "I wonder how high the dragon will fly. Or will it die halfway? I wonder if the dragon will come back. I hope not." Several patriarchs nearby nodded. Judging from Lu Li's information, wherever Lu Li went, something would happen to him. When he went to the Wu Ling County, the Lu family was bathed in blood. When he went to the Blood Evil Island, the Blood Evil sect was destroyed. Later on, the Su family of the Goddown Island was destroyed as well. In the end, the Bai family was implicated and the Thousand Island Lake was bathed in blood. A real dragon would not hide in a ditch forever. Usually, wherever a real dragon appeared, there would be a storm of blood. In other words, Lu Li was a star of misfortune. The patriarchs of the Z family naturally hoped that Lu Li would never come back and that he could go out and harm the people of the Central Plains. Lu Li felt like he had been teleporting for a long time this time. Maybe it was several hours or years. He felt dizzy. Every minute and second was torturous. The long-distance teleportation made him uncomfortable. For the first time, he hated taking teleportation formations. Of course, this was because Lu Li's soul was not strong enough. Yu Huashen and Mingyu were fine. The teleportation didn't take as long as Lu Li had imagined. It was only an hour at most. When he finally landed, Lu Li couldn't stand it anymore. He threw up everything he ate at the Z family. Squeak, squeak, little white, and Lu Li's sleeve screamed with worry. Lu Li waved his hand to let little white go back. Yu Huashen and Mingyu looked around at once. They had heard of the Cloud City, but they had never been here. Naturally, they had to be on their guard. Strictly speaking, the Cloud City was not part of the Central Plains. It was a large island to the north of the Central Plains, the territory of the Palace of Peaceful Heavens, one of the 4 overlords of the northern Central Plains. Anyone from the northern desert who wanted to go to the Central Plains must pass by here. Also, they had to pay a certain amount of Xian crystals to the Palace of Peaceful Heavens before they were allowed to go in. Come out and throw up. There was a group of black-armored warriors guarding outside the teleportation formation. A team leader looked at Yu Huashan and Mingyu coldly and said to Lu Li with dissatisfaction. The team leader was only at the initial stage of the Eternal Realm, but he didn't show any fear when he saw Yu Huashan and Mingyu. Instead, there was a trace of mockery and sarcasm on his face. He was trying to provoke them. Mingyu's eyes grew colder. Yu Huashan had heard of the reputation of the Palace of Peaceful Heavens. He helped Lu Li get up and walked out. The team leader looked at Mingyu with provocation again and said coldly, 100 million Xian crystals per person. Give it to me. 100 million? Yu Huashan and Mingyu looked at each other. Both were angry. They had heard that people had to pay Xian crystals to enter the Central Plains, but only 10 million Xian crystals per person. Since when did it become 100 million? Was he trying to rob them openly? Rustle, rustle, rustle. 2 men rushed over from the distance. An old man laughed from the distance and said, Ha, ha, ha. Tai Hong, are you out of your mind? How dare you extort a guest of the Du family? Yu Huashan and Mingyu were relieved that the reinforcement from the Du family had arrived. Otherwise, if they were to fight with the Palace of Peaceful Heavens, the 3 of them would suffer. Chapter 289. I am Du Ran of the Du family. Nice to meet you, young master. An old man of the noble lord realm walked over with a young master and cupped his fists in front of Lu Li. Lu Li was still vomiting, so much so that his bile was coming out. The young master next to Du Ran showed disdain in his eyes. Du Ran glared at him, and the young master restrained himself. Du Ran, the leader of the Palace of Peaceful Heavens, looked at Du Ran, casually cupped his fists, and said coldly, You are a patriarch of the Du family. You have no say in the Cloud City. Teleporting people from the northern desert requires Xian crystals. This is the rule. Now that Patriarch Du Ran has come, I will do you a favor and reduce the Xian crystals by half. Half was still 150 million Xian crystals. It was not that Yu Huashan could not afford the Xian crystals. It was just that this was bullying. If he and Mingyu were not at the Noble Lord realm, they would swallow the humiliation. But now, a warrior of the Eternal Realm was bullying them. Du Ran had white hair and beard. He looked old. He sneered and said, The Palace of Peaceful Heavens is trying to humiliate the Du family on purpose, isn't it? Tai Hong, don't cross the line. We will meet again in the future. Tai Hong sneered and said, Are you going to give me the Xian crystals or not? If not, I will have to arrest you. You? Mingyu finally lost control of his anger. Violent qi and energy poured out from him, enveloping the area and suffocating Tai Hong. Powerful warriors all had their dignity and pride. If Tai Hong was more powerful than them, they could just swallow the humiliation. Mingyu could kill a warrior of the Eternal Realm at any time. How dare he be so arrogant? A cold snort suddenly came out. It exploded in Mingyu's soul pond like a thunder from a clear sky. Mingyu's killing intent was weakened. His face turned pale and blood oozed out from the corner of his mouth. Xian skill of the soul category. Yu Huashan's pupils contracted. Only a powerful warrior that could hurt Mingyu with a snort was at a higher realm than Mingyu and could use Xian skills of the soul. Terry. Du Ran's expression turned gloomy. He shouted, Don't cross the line. The mysterious powerhouse didn't show up, but a cold voice came. If you don't pay the Xian crystals, take them all down. If they dare to make a move, kill them. Good. Du Zheng was so angry that his entire body was trembling. His storage ring lit up, and he threw a storage ring to Tai Hong and said, Our Du family will remember this matter. We will definitely repay you in the future. Let's go. Du Zheng winked at Yu Huashan and Mingyu. Yu Huashan helped Lu Li out of the plaza. There were 2 carriages parked outside the square. Everyone got on the carriages and went straight out of the city. When they were out of the city, Luli finally stopped vomiting. He closed his eyes and rested for a while. He looked better. Buzz. Out of the city, Duran took out an iron-armored ship. He boarded the iron-armored ship with the four of them and flew straight to the south. Young Master Lu, I'm sorry. In the ship's hold, Du Zheng cupped his hands in guilt and said, White Cloud Island is the territory of the Palace of Peaceful Heavens. The Palace of Peaceful Heavens is a faction of the same level as our Du clan. We are both grade 6. Grandmaster is more powerful than my family patriarch. Also, there is a talented disciple in their family. He has reached the peak of the noble lord realm at the age of 40. He can reach the human sovereign realm at any time. That is why he is so arrogant. Luli forced a smile and said, This has nothing to do with Lord Du Huashin. Do you have Shin crystals? Give him back to Lord Du. No, young Master Lu, you must be joking. Duran waved his hand and said, Du Zheng is my cousin. He told me to take care of you and make arrangements for you. It is my fault that you have been mistreated. Take these Shin crystals as my apology. Also, these Shin crystals are nothing to the Du family. Young Master, don't worry about it. Duran was so sincere that Luli couldn't refuse his kindness. Luli cupped his fists, looked at the young master next to Duran, and asked, This is my grandson, Dulun. Duran introduced. He stared at Duluan and said, Duluan, bow to young Master Lu. Duluan stood up lazily, cupped his fists, and said, Greetings, young Master Lu. Nice to meet you, young Master Du. Luli nodded. Duluan was clearly looking down on him. Maybe it was because Luli's realm was too low. Luli didn't mind at all. He didn't mind at all. He looked at Du Zheng and said, Master Du, where are we going now? Also, can you give me a map of the Central Plains? No problem. The ring on Duran's hand glowed. He gave Luli a map and explained, We are on the Clouds Island, and we are flying towards the Dan City of the Central Plains. The Dan City is the headquarters of the Du family. Young Master, you can have some fun at the Dan City for a couple of days. Later, I will take you to the largest city at the north of the Central Plains, the City of Delicacy. We will take the iron-armored ship of the Delicacy Chamber of Commerce to the Heaven's Roar City. At the Heaven's Roar City, you will need to take another iron-armored ship to get to the Mystic Armor region. Luli glanced at the map and had a general understanding of the Central Plains. The City of Delicacy was the main city at the north of the Central Plains, while the City of Heaven's Roars was the main city at the northeast of the Central Plains. Both were territories occupied by royal families. Luli thought about it and asked a question. Lord Du, I heard that the Du family is one of the 4 overlords at the north of the Central Plains. Is the City of Delicacy also one of them? Dulun put on a sarcastic smile. Duran forced a smile and said, Young Master, you don't know this. The 4 overlords are just a rumor. The 4 minor overlords are more like it. The overlord at the north of the Central Plains is the Pavilion of Delicacy, an 8th rank family. We, the Du family, are only at the 6th rank. How can we compete with the Pavilion of Delicacy? Duran pointed to the map and explained, The entire northern Central Plains is under the influence of the Pavilion of Delicacy. That is the royal family, the Du family, the Palace of Peaceful Heavens, the Qin family, and the Yama Palace are the 4 most powerful forces under the Pavilion of Delicacy. That is why we are called the 4 overlords. At the north of the Central Plains, the Pavilion of Delicacy is the supreme king. We, the 4 forces, are just 4 feudal lords. Luli understood now. Yu Huashan knew something about the situation here. Mingyu, however, asked with confusion, Are there no 7th-rank families or forces at the north of the Central Plains? There used to be. Duran said, Hundreds of years ago, there were 2 7th-rank forces. But a war broke out between the 2 forces. In the end, one of the families was wiped out and the other suffered heavy casualties. The family was reduced to a 6th-rank force, which is the Palace of Peaceful Heavens. Luli was shocked. He asked, The Pavilion of Delicacy didn't do anything. Ha. Duran smiled, stroked his beard, and said, Young Master, you don't know much about the Central Plains. The 12 royal families of the Central Plains are the supreme kings. As long as they are not provoked, they won't care even if all the big families are fighting. They won't even care if outside forces are fighting with their forces. As long as their interests are not infringed, civilians are not slaughtered, and the rules they set are not broken, they will not care. Luli and Ming-Yu looked at each other, speechless. It was fine if they didn't care when the forces under them were fighting. How could they not care when the forces outside were attacking their brothers? It was like when Su Chan attacked the Blood Evil Island. The Bai family could turn a blind eye. But when Yu family attacked the Blood Evil Island or the God Down Island, the Bai family would do something. Otherwise, who would listen to the Bai family? The Central Plains is more chaotic than I thought. Chapter 290. The Clouds Island was not far away from the Central Plains, only a couple of hours away. But it would take them half a day to fly to the Dan City. Luli had learned something about the northern Central Plains after Du Ran's introduction. He had no other choice but to go to the Dan City first, and then to the City of Delicacy to take the iron-armored ship. He told Du Ran that he absolutely could not reveal his identity, not even to the Du family. The City of Mystic Armor was a long way away. Once his identity was exposed, what if the enemies of Lu Ren Huang came after him? Du Ran said that it was okay. Apart from the two of them and some important figures in the family, he would not tell anyone. They would go to the Dan City in a low profile and leave in a low profile. 6 hours later, a vast land appeared in front of Luli. Luli felt the air was fresher after he entered the land. Luli walked out of the cabin and looked to the south. He closed his eyes to feel it. After a while, he opened his eyes and asked Du Ran next to him, "Lord Du, the Xianxi in heaven and earth at the Central Plains is much richer." "Yes." Du Ran nodded and said, "It is twice as rich as at the northern desert. Of course, the space here is 3 times more stable. All warriors here are slowed down. You could try if you don't believe me." "Oh." Luli was curious. He turned into a blur and flashed around the deck. He used the apparition mystic skill, and his body turned into human figures. The deck was filled with people. Just as I thought. Luli appeared in front of them. He frowned. He was not used to the fact that he was 2 or 3 times slower. Whoosh! Ming-Yu flew out of the iron-armored ship. He landed on the ground and jumped up to the mountains in the distance. Then he released his bead of life and flew back. "Yes, it is twice as slow." Ming-Yu nodded and said coldly. Yu Huashan flew out as well. It was not that he didn't trust the others. It was that he had to get used to the situation at the Central Plains. If there was a fight, he could adapt to the environment and exert his best. Yu Huashan came back after flying around and nodded to himself. Luli had almost recovered. He would arrive at the Dan City soon, so he didn't go back to the cabin. He stayed on the deck and observed the scenery. Du Luan stood there for a while before entering the cabin. This was obviously a hedonistic young master, arrogant, frivolous, and condescending. But he did have the right to be proud. He seemed to be in his early 20s at most, and he was already at the peak of the Fate Will realm. He should be a genius in the Du family. It was understandable that he looked down on Lu Li, a warrior who had just reached the Soul Pond realm. Even though Lu Li was only 16 years old, he had a calm personality, and his mentality was different from the average young man. He didn't mind Du Luan's rudeness at all. He stood on the deck and gazed into the distance. His mind was filled with all kinds of visions for the future. Return to the Lu family, acknowledge his ancestors, and see his grandfather. Then, the powerful warriors of the Lu family would save his parents and then go to the Central Plains to bring Lu Ling back. Lu Li was excited at the thought that he could reunite with his family and see his parents whom he had never met. Influenced by Lu Ling, Lu Li had never blamed or resented his parents since he was young. Later, when he learned that his father had jumped into the ice abyss to save his mother, he felt proud to have such a father. There's a city in the distance? Is it the Dan City? After a while, Lu Li saw a huge city in front of him. He looked at Du Ran with surprise. Du Ran explained, "This is the Yun City, just a county." County. Lu Li and Ming-Yu blinked their eyes. A county was bigger than a region city at the northern desert, and as big as the Heaven Marshal City. How big would the 12 major cities of the Central Plains be? Young Master Lu, do you want to have some fun in the city? Duran asked. Luli was not in the mood for that. He shook his head. Duran steered the iron-armored ship away from the direction and flew past quietly. After they passed the city, Duran added, Young Master Lu, the cities of the Central Plains are divided into tribes, counties, prefectural cities, region cities, and major cities. There are only 12 major cities and more region cities. Of course, those that can occupy a region city must be at least of the 6th rank or above. Oh, I see. There was one more prefectural city at the Central Plains. Everything else was the same as the Northern Desert. Maybe it was because the Central Plains was so big that there was one more prefectural city. They flew on for 4 hours. The iron-armored ship passed by many tribes, counties, and even a prefectural city. They ran into some iron-armored ships on the way. Iron-armored ships were rare at the Northern Desert, but they were common at the Central Plains. Luli even saw an iron-armored ship rising from a tribe. The tribe was large, with a population of at least more than 100,000. Young Master Lu, don't look down on tribes of the Central Plains. Duran said to another tribe when they passed by, there are many special races at the Central Plains. They rarely communicate with the outside world, and they like to live alone in their tribes. Sometimes, in a tribe with tens of thousands of people, the chief might be at the human sovereign realm, and there might be more than a dozen noble lord realm warriors. Lu Li, Ming Yu, and Ming Yu were surprised. Special races all had their own unique skills and skills. They were the most difficult to deal with. For example, the Cyan Phoenix race was fast, and the Mammoth race was strong in defense. Offending a tribe like this was worse than offending a big family. Whoosh, whoosh, all of a sudden, there came some noises from the east. Following that, several iron-armored ships arrived. Duran's eyes swept over, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. He murmured doubtfully, Someone from the Qin clan? What are they doing here? Whoosh! From the east came another 2 noises. Then 2 black dots were getting bigger. Yu Huashen and Ming Yu were on high alert. They were 2 powerful warriors of the noble lord realm. 2 streaks of psychic power came over, but disappeared in a flash. The 2 powerful warriors of the noble lord realm took a detour and flew to the west. Qin Gang? Qin Yu? Duran was even more curious. This was the territory of the Du family. Warriors of the Qin family wouldn't come here for no reason. Boom! 300 miles to the west, a huge signal detonator flew up and exploded in the sky. Duran's expressions changed. He shouted in surprise, This is an emergency signal from the Du family. What's going on? Usually, this kind of signal detonator wouldn't be used. Something big must have happened. Warriors of the Du family must go over as soon as they saw the signal detonator. Duran was in a dilemma. Lu Li was here, and his mission was to send Lu Li to the Dan City. What if something went wrong when he brought Lu Li there? It was just that the other side had sent out a distress signal, and Duran was very worried. Lu Li thought about it and said, Lord Du, go and have a look. What can happen on the territory of the Du family? We will not get too close. Okay, Duran thought about it. Nothing could go wrong on the territory of the Du family. He controlled the iron-armored ship to fly away at the top of its speed. It flew to the west like a shooting star. The iron-armored ship was fast. It arrived in the time for 2 incense sticks to burn. Before they got close to the place where the signal was sent, 2 men flew up. Duran glanced over and said, Scouts of the Du family. 2 warriors of the Fate Wheel realm flew up, got down on one knee, and said, Greetings, Patriarch 12 lords. What happened? Why did you send out the emergency signal? Duran asked. One of the scouts answered, There is a golden ancient coffin in the mountain over there. There's a holy grade weapon stuck in the coffin. There should be some valuable treasures in there. The Qin family found it first, and they are trying to get it. So we have gathered all the powerful warriors of the family to come and fight for it. Golden ancient coffin? There's a divine weapon stuck in it? Lu Li's eyes glowed, and then he was shocked. Could it be the coffin of the Dragon King that flew away from the tomb of the Dragon King? P.S. 4 chapters up. You don't have many monthly votes. You are 41st on the overall ranking list. You only have 482 votes. We have more than 10,000 regular readers. Everyone has a guaranteed monthly vote. Where did you hide it? Come on, vote. Make it to the top 20 by 6 p.m. tomorrow. 5 chapters tomorrow. Top 15, 6 chapters. Top 10, 7 chapters. Chapter 291. Ming Yu and Yu Huashan had never seen the coffin of the Dragon King. Yu Lingxi was dead. Yu Huashan had no information about the tomb of the Dragon King. Ming Yu, on the other hand, did not care about these things. Therefore, the two of them did not have much of a reaction. Lu Li, on the other hand, was very excited. That demon had said that all the hidden treasures of the Dragon King were in the coffin. All the treasures of the great emperor of the northern desert. There should be at least 10 billion Xian crystals in them. Lu Li obtained a ring from the coffin of the Dragon King. There were 36 mystical materials and 6 rising dragon grasses in the ring. The 6 rising dragon grasses were worth 5 or 6 billion Xian crystals. There must be at least 10 billion Xian crystals in the coffin of the Dragon King. Lu Li was in dire need of Xian crystals. If he had enough Xian crystals, he could teleport all the way to the Mystic Armor region in 1 or 2 months, and he would be safe. The cities of the Central Plains generally did not allow the use of force. It was much safer to teleport within the city. Lu Li was intrigued. He asked Golden Coffin, "What does it look like?" The scout glanced at Du Ran, who nodded his head and explained, "That coffin is very imposing. It's 10 meters in length and 2 meters in width and height. There were also giant cold iron chains on its 4 corners. Its entire body was golden in color, and it should have been cast from gold. There are also many runes and diagrams. There's a huge saber stuck in the coffin lid. It's obviously a saint-ranked divine weapon." As expected, what the scout described was exactly the same as what Lu Li saw in the coffin of the Dragon King. What confused Lu Li was the coffin of the Dragon King flew away from the tomb of Dragon King. Why did it come to the Central Plains? Was it controlled by that demon? The iron-armored ship flew on. Lu Li asked no more questions and looked forward. Du Ran then asked about the situation on the other side. After learning that they had already sent a message back and that the experts of the Du family would come over as reinforcements, Du Ran was relieved. After flying for another 10 miles, he suddenly saw countless figures in the distance. There were people everywhere in the sky, flying everywhere. They were all trying to stop a huge golden coffin. Lu Li took a look and was sure that it was the coffin of the Dragon King. At this moment, the coffin seemed to have a life of its own. It dashed left and right at a terrifying speed. He kept knocking away the warriors of the Fate Wheel Realm and the Eternal Realm, trying his best to break through. Huh? Du Ran's eyes flashed with a trace of doubt, but his face turned red. This ancient coffin was so strange. There must be some precious treasure inside. Qin Gang and Qin Yu? Du Ran took a look and frowned. The sky was filled with warriors of the Qin family. The 2 noble Lord Realm warriors of the Qin family had arrived, and they were trying to suppress the golden coffin. On the other hand, there was only 1 noble Lord Realm warrior on Lu Li's side. He would be at a great disadvantage if he were to fight for it. "Grandpa, hurry up and act. Otherwise, the ancient coffin will be snatched away." Du Luan had come out a long time ago. He was a little anxious when he saw Qin Gang continuously striking the golden ancient coffin. If the ancient coffin was kept in Qin Gang's space ring, even the Du family would not be able to fight for it. Lily could tell that Du Ran was struggling. He suddenly said, "Lord Du, I can send 2 people to help you. However, I want half of the treasures in this ancient coffin." Yu Huashan was at the middle stage of the Noble Lord Realm, and Ming Yu had learned force. Together with Du Ran, they should be able to defeat the 2 Noble Lord Realm warriors of the Qin family. The treasures in the coffin of the Dragon King were worth at least more than 1,000,000 Xian crystals. Half was enough for Lu Li to be teleported to the Mystic Armor region. This was the territory of the Du family. The consequences would be dealt with by the Du family. Why wouldn't Lu Li fight for it? Before Du Ran could say anything, Du Luan sneered. "Half? What makes you think that there are no powerful warriors in the Du family? Slap! Du-Ran slapped Du-Lun into the cabin and scolded him coldly. If you disrespect young Master Lu again, I will lock you up for 10 years when we get back. Du-Lun felt wronged, but he didn't dare to say anything more. Du-Ran cupped his fist to Lu Li and said apologetically, Young Master Lu, I am sorry. I did not teach him well. I will punish him severely when we get back. Half is too much. I have made the decision. As long as we can get the coffin, you can have 60% of the treasures in it. 60%? Lu Li didn't expect that Du-Ran would be so polite. How could he give him 60%? Now was not the time to talk about this. Lu Li looked at Yu Huashan and Mingyu and said, Go and help us get the coffin. Young master. Mingyu and Yu Huashan didn't move. They didn't feel safe leaving Lu Li here alone in such a chaotic situation. What if Lu Li was killed by someone or by mistake? Lu Li smiled, pointed to the mountains down, and said, Don't worry. We will hide in the mountains with Du-Lun. There are 2 scouts of the Du family here as well. You can take me away as soon as you get the coffin. I don't think the Qin family will dare to mess around at the territory of the Du family. Du-Ran thought about it and agreed. The Qin family had the courage to take the coffin, but they wouldn't dare to kill the Du family. He nodded to Yu Huashan and Mingyu, gave some orders to the scouts, and flew up. Young master, be careful. Mingyu and Yu Huashan followed Lu Li since he insisted. Lu Li looked at Du-Lun and flew down. He found a secluded cave to hide in and looked into the distance from the entrance. Du-Lun didn't come down. He was slapped by Du-Ran and hated Lu Li right now. How could he stay with Lu Li? The 2 scouts of the Fate Wheel realm of the Du family didn't dare to be careless. They each went with 1 scout to protect Lu Li and Du-Lun. Du-Ran, piss off. We found it first. From the distance came a shout. It must be a warrior of the noble lord realm of the Qin family. They were so close to getting the coffin of the Dragon King. How could they let Du-Ran take it away? Ha ha ha. Du-Ran laughed and said back, Qin gang, this is the territory of the Du family. Any treasure that comes out belongs to the Du family. How dare you fight for food in the mouth of tiger? Are you declaring war against the Du family? Do it. Du-Ran's bead of life suddenly enlarged. Black fog came out from the bead of life, which covered up the space nearby. The black fog was as black as ink, and it swallowed everyone nearby. It was like the mouth of a giant beast swallowing everyone alive. The coffin of a Dragon King was glowing with golden light. Now, there was not a single ray of light. There were only cries of surprise and some sounds of explosions coming from inside. What is this profound meaning? Lu Li was surprised. He asked the scout not far away. The scout explained, This is the gloom profound meaning of Patriarch Du-Ran. It is a combination of a 4th-rank dark profound meaning and a special skill. He named it the gloom profound meaning. Those of lower realms than him cannot get out when they're trapped in there. Impressive, Lu Li exclaimed to himself. Even though he had seen many profound meanings, he was still shocked by the power of a real, powerful warrior. His power was still too weak. Swish, swish, the black fog spread out quickly. It had covered up an area with a radius of more than a mile. Many people nearby were affected. There were sounds of explosions coming from inside. Du-Ran, Yu Huashan, Mingyu, and the 2 warriors of the noble lord realm of the Qin family must be fighting. We must get it, Lu Li prayed to himself. If he could get the coffin of the Dragon King, he could get many Xian crystals. It would be easier for him to go to the Mystic Armor City. What is that? What? How come the coffin of the Dragon King is coming out? After a while, a ray of golden glare came from the distance. Then the coffin of the Dragon King was smashed out. It rolled on the ground, and the glow on it dimmed. Whoosh! The coffin of the Dragon King flew up again. It smashed away the 2 warriors of the Fate Wheel realm, and then flew toward Lu Li at a horrifying speed. Ha ha ha, this coffin is mine. Du-Lun was overjoyed. He flew out from the iron-armored ship. He generated a 3-layered Fate Wheel and smashed at the coffin of the Dragon King. Bang! The coffin was smashed off course, and the Fate Wheel was knocked away. Lu Li shouted in surprise. Sage Asterisk T, so unlucky. Chapter 292. The cave was too shallow. Only death awaited Lu Li if he ran into the cave. He released his burning blood skill at once, mobilized his Xian energy, and, at the same time, released apparition. He flew out of the cave and ran to the distance. His reaction was fast. As soon as he left, the golden coffin smashed into the cave. The cave collapsed. Gravel flew everywhere. Half of the golden coffin sank in. Good. Du Luan, who was not far away, was overjoyed. He shouted to the two Fate Wheel Realm warriors of the Du family, "Go. I will take it myself. This coffin is mine now." He flew over on his Fate Wheel. The two scouts of the Du family released their Fate Wheels to attack the golden coffin, trying to smash the coffin into the mountain so that it could not fly away. Boom! Unexpectedly, the coffin seemed to have a life of its own. It flew back quickly, bumped into the two Fate Wheels, and flew to the distance again. *T. Lu Li, who was more than a mile away, felt the wind behind him. He looked back and saw the coffin flying towards him. His expressions changed, and he cursed. The coffin seemed to be targeting him. Otherwise, how could it be so coincidental? Why was it smashing at him twice? He generated more than a dozen shadows and created a ghostly shadow in front of him, trying to mislead the coffin so that it could avoid the collision. However, the coffin changed its direction and smashed into his real body. At this moment, Lu Li was 100% sure that the coffin was doing this on purpose. He seemed to understand something. It was not a coincidence that the coffin could fly around. It must be controlled by the demon inside. And this demon recognized him and wanted to get back at him, to kill him. In the tomb of Dragon King, the demon almost controlled Yu Lingxiu, and the relic weapon was about to be taken out. It was because Lu Li asked Little White to bite off the cold iron chains that the demon failed. In the end, the demon even controlled Yu Lingxiu to kill Lu Li, and by Qiushua, the abilities of this old demon had reached an unimaginable level. Dragon King had been dead for so many years, but the remnant of his soul was still here. It was understandable that he could recognize Lu Li. At this critical moment, Lu Li had to make up his mind and smash at the coffin with his fist. He tried to shake the sky like an ant. He wanted to smash the golden coffin that not even a Fate Wheel could knock away. Hiss! The golden ancient coffin sped up and smashed towards Lu Li with a whistling sound. Lu Li's fist smashed at the coffin with a whistling sound. However, just as they were about to collide, Lu Li's legs suddenly slipped and he fell to the ground. The ancient golden coffin stuck close to his body and slid forward. The golden ancient coffin flew past him. Lu Li breathed heavily. He thought to himself that it was a close call. Luckily, he reacted fast enough. Otherwise, he would have been smashed to death. Whoosh! However, before he could catch his breath, the ancient golden coffin had returned. This ancient coffin forcefully stopped in midair. Then, it didn't even need to turn around as it flew backwards. Damn it, it's not over yet? Why aren't Mingyu and Yu Huashan back yet? Lu Li cursed. He had an idea. He crawled up and ran like crazy towards Du Luan and the others, hoping that they could help him escape. However, the golden ancient coffin suddenly glowed and sped up. It caught up with Lu Li and smashed at his back. This was a matter of life and death. Lu Li thought quickly. He made up his mind to stop. When the ancient coffin was flying towards him, his legs suddenly stomped on the ground, and his body shot up. He attempted to jump on top of the ancient coffin to avoid this collision. He was right. When the coffin was flying towards him, he jumped onto the coffin just in time to avoid the collision. Phew, phew. Just as he exhaled, his expression changed drastically in the next second, because one of the huge cold iron chains on the corners of the coffin suddenly swung and wrapped around his body like a whip. He was tied up like a meat dumpling. Not far away, Du Luan and two scouts of the Du family ran over and happened to see this. The three of them were dumbfounded. Was the coffin sentient, or was it a beast? How could it tie people up with cold iron chains? The three of them looked at each other and didn't dare to move closer. What if they were tied up as well? Whoosh! With a glare, the coffin flew into the distance with Lu Li in a blur. Du Luan finally came to his senses. He shouted to the two scouts, Go and tell my grandpa that Lu Li has been taken away by the coffin. Du didn't have a good impression of Lu Li, but he knew how much Du Ran valued him. If something happened to Lu Li when he was kidnapped, his grandpa would skin him alive. Whoosh, whoosh, numerous figures flew over. They were all people from the Qin clan. Several warriors of the Eternal Realms saw what happened as well, but they didn't hesitate. They rode on their fate wheels and chased after the golden coffin. Bang, bang, bang. The fight in the distance finally came to an end. Two noble Lord Realm warriors of the Qin family were smashed away, spitting out blood. One of them was covered in blood, and his face was pale. He must have been badly injured. Du Ran, Yu Huaxin, and Ming Yu flew out from the black haze. Du Ran looked for the coffin at once, while Ming Yu went to where Lu Li was hiding. "Where is young master?" A glint of coldness rose in Ming Yu's eyes. Yu Huaxin came back to his senses. He looked awful. Du Ran came back to his senses, and his expressions changed. Whoosh, scouts of the Du family came. One of them shouted from the distance, "Patriarch, that young master is entangled by the chains of the coffin. He is flying over there." Whoosh, whoosh. Du Ran and Yu Huaxin's expressions changed again. Ming Yu, on the other hand, flew on his bead of life at the top of his speed. "Go after him!" Du Ran shouted and chased after Ming Yu as fast as he could. At the same time, he shouted in midair, sent a message to the family. "Send someone to block the coffin. Make sure that the young man entangled by the coffin is safe." A disciple of the immediate Lu family. If something were to happen at the territory of the Du family would be destroyed when the Lu family learned about it. The coffin was fast, but not as fast as a warrior of the noble Lord realm. Otherwise, it would have escaped long ago. Thinking of this, Du Ran, Ming Yu, and Yu Huaxin were relieved. They were at the territory of the Du family, and there were teleportation formations in the cities. Powerful warriors of the Du family would arrive soon. There was hope that Lu Li could be saved. Ming Yu and Yu Huaxin were relieved. Of course, they were just comforting themselves. They were flying at the top of their speed. They were regretting that they should not have left Lu Li alone. Yu Huaxin was implanted with soul worms, so he didn't dare to harm Lu Li at all. Instead, he hoped that Lu Li would be fine. If something were to happen to Lu Li, it would be fine if he dissolved the mark in a jade talisman. But if he died before he did, the soul worms in his head might go on a rampage. By then, he wouldn't even know how he died. The three of them prayed and blamed themselves. They chased after the coffin all the way. Something horrifying happened. They had been chasing for more than 30 miles, but they didn't see a shadow of the golden ancient coffin. The scouts of the Du family would not lie. Either the golden ancient coffin was moving faster than them, or the coffin had changed its direction. Otherwise, it was impossible that they couldn't see it. Whoosh! After chasing for another dozens of li, two experts flew over from the front. Du Ran glanced over, and his heart sank to the bottom. The two people in front of him were from the Du clan. Chapter 293. Lu Li was missing. The Du family patriarch was frightened when he got the news. He gave an order at once to mobilize many warriors to search the nearby cities. At the same time, hundreds of families nearby were ordered to go out and search. In an instant, at least 1 million warriors were mobilized in an area with a radius of 300,000 miles. Iron-armored ships flew out from many cities to search for the coffin of the Dragon King and Lu Li all over the world. Yu Huaxin, Ming Yu, and Du Ran almost lost their minds. The three of them went around as fast as they could to search for the coffin of the Dragon King. Something that frightened them happened again. The Du family mobilized millions of warriors and thousands of iron-armored ships to search an area with a radius of 300,000 miles. They had been searching for 6 hours, but there was no news. Lu Li and the coffin of the Dragon King vanished into thin air. How could such a huge coffin and a living person just disappear? This was not logical. Ming Yu and Yu Huaxin could not accept this. Lu Li had just teleported to the central plains from the northern desert. He disappeared as soon as he stepped onto the land of the central plains. Yu Huaxin was worried that his soul worms would be triggered if Lu Li died. Ming Yu, on the other hand, was filled with guilt and self-blame. How could he explain to Lu Renhuang when he met him in the future? The Du family mobilized more warriors and expanded the search area by 100 times. They started to search an area with a radius of millions of miles. The coffin of the Dragon King could not have vanished in a thin air. It must be hidden somewhere. As a matter of fact, the coffin of the Dragon King was indeed hidden. It was in a small valley along the way that Ming Yu and the others were searching for it. Ming Yu and the others had passed by this place, and so did many others. However, none of them went down to the valley to check. In other words, nobody could see the coffin of the Dragon King or Lu Li, who was tied up by the cold iron chains. At the moment, the runes on the coffin of the Dragon King were glaring and the mysterious patterns on the coffin walls were moving about. The coffin of the Dragon King was not glaring in golden light anymore. Instead, it was glowing in cyan light, which formed a transparent shield with a diameter of more than 30 feet. It was because of this shield that the coffin of the Dragon King had vanished into thin air. Not even psychic power could sense it, let alone the naked eyes. Lu Li was still tied up by the cold iron chains. He was not in a good state, and neither was Little White. After Lu Li was entangled by the cold iron chain, Little White came out to protect its master. He wanted to bite off the cold iron chain for Lu Li. However, small black vines grew out of the lid of the coffin and wrapped around Whitey. The vines were exactly the same as the black vines on the peak of Dragon King Mountain. The only difference was that these vines were glowing with a green light. Squeak, squeak, because of the green light, Little White continued to struggle and bite, but it could no longer bite off the black vines. It could only roar, look at Lu Li anxiously, and let out miserable howls. Its roar was also unable to pass through the green barrier outside, so it was meaningless no matter how much it roared. Lu Li was even worse off than Little White. Streaks of green light flowed out of the huge black chain and entered his body in an unending stream. This scene was exactly the same as what happened to Yu Lingxiu that day. However, Yu Lingxiu was holding a divine weapon in his hand, and that demon was controlling Yu Lingxiu through the divine weapon. At this moment, the demon was obviously using some special energy to invade Lu Li's body through the cold iron chains. To be more precise, it was invading Lu Li's body and soul. Woo! Lu Li could not move at all. His muscles were bulging and his body was twisting. His eyes turned red and then black. His expressions were ferocious. He was like a trapped beast, howling in anger. Lu Li was in pain that he had never experienced before. This time, the pain was not only on his body, but on his soul as well. The green energy had invaded his body. He felt he could no longer control many parts of his body. The green energy was taking over his body, or, in other words, it was transforming his body, demonizing his body. The body was secondary. The soul was the foundation. Streaks of green energy surged into Lu Li's soul pond like thousands of green needles. Lu Li felt his soul pond was being pricked by 10,000 green needles. The pain was indescribable. It was like thousands of arrows piercing through his heart. As the green energy entered his soul pond, Lu Li felt his soul pond was collapsing. From the outside to the inside, his soul pond was being occupied bit by bit. Gradually, it gave off a green light. He felt he was losing consciousness, as if he was drugged. He tried to open his eyes and do something, but there was nothing he could do. From the depth of his soul came a sense of fear. He knew very well that the demon was taking over his body and soul. It was the legendary possession. Just like Yu Lingxiu, Lu Li might become a demon slave completely. He would lose himself, lose his soul, and become a walking dead. His soul would be in complete silence, and his body would be controlled by a demon. What a horrible state it would be. His body, hair, and skin were given to him by his parents, but now they were taken over by a demon? He, Lu Li, had become a demon, slaughtering humans all over the world and eating human flesh? He would be hunted down by countless human warriors and eventually be dismembered? Lu Li thought of Lu Ling learning that he had become a demon. What if his parents came out and learned that he was dismembered? Lu Li once again howled in pain. He struggled with all his strength. His expressions were getting more and more awful and ferocious. Roar, 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 Luli rolled down from the golden ancient coffin. Since he was tied up by the cold iron chains, he could only roll around on the ground nearby. His clothes were ragged and his hair was messy. He kept twisting his body and howling to the sky. However, he was like a grasshopper tied up by a rope. He could not get out no matter how hard he tried. Time passed on bit by bit. Green energy kept pouring into Lu Li's body and soul. Lu Li's struggle was getting weaker and weaker. His roars were getting softer and softer. The green glow on his face and the red glow in his eyes were getting brighter and brighter. It was midnight outside. It had been 12 hours since Lu Li went missing. Lu Li's consciousness in his soul was getting weaker and weaker. This was the result of his strong willpower. If he were an average person, he would have lost his consciousness long ago. Of course, judging by the looks of it, in less than a couple of hours, Lu Li's consciousness would be completely lost and his body would be completely controlled by the demon. Right at that moment, several warriors suddenly passed by the valley. The valley was small and could be seen through at a glance. In the past, warriors would just throw a glance and then continue on their way. Maybe it was midnight, but the warriors were tired. They walked towards the valley as if they were going to take a rest here. Bang! A warrior was walking on when he suddenly felt an invisible wall in front of him. He bumped into the shield outside the coffin of the Dragon King. What is that? The warrior was shocked. He shot out Xian energy out of instinct. Then the shield in front of him glowed in a cyan light. The coffin of the Dragon King and Lu Li were revealed. Coffin? Coffin. There's a young man over there. I found him. These people were the scouts of the Du family, and they immediately cried out in joy. One of them reacted quickly. He flew up to the valley and threw a signal detonator into the air. Bang! The signal detonator exploded in midair like a huge firework. It lit up an area with a radius of more than 30 miles. Everyone within a radius of several hundred miles was alarmed. Roar! Lu Li suddenly let out a beast-like howl. Then he crawled up from the ground. The cold iron chains loosened their grip on him. However, Lu Li didn't run away. Instead, he grabbed the cold iron chains and ran away with the golden ancient coffin. Chapter 294. The coffin and the young man had been found. The news spread out. Yu Huashan, Mingyu, and Du rushed over as soon as they could. Many patriarchs, deacons, and powerful warriors of the Du family were here. Even the chief patriarch of the Du family came in person. The signal detonator attracted many people's attention. At least tens of thousands of warriors swarmed over from all directions. The Du family had offered a huge reward of 100 million Xian crystals for the young man. The Du family didn't reveal Lu Li's identity. They only said that he was a guest of the Du family, and Lu Li had told them not to disclose his identity. Soon, a group of warriors swarmed over from where Lu Li was pulling the coffin. Lu Li, on the other hand, kept moving forward with red eyes. The cold iron chains behind him glowed in a green light, and green energy was being injected into his body. Roar, 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 Lu Li would let out beast-like roars from time to time. Little White, which was entangled by the black vines on the coffin, roared as well. Little White looked at Lu Li with worry. It felt that Lu Li was not like its former master. As a matter of fact, it was not Lu Li's intention to move forward with the coffin. He had lost control of his body. He was completely under the control of that demon. The coffin of the Dragon King was found. The demon knew that many powerful warriors would come to surround it. Therefore, the demon had to run away. As for why it didn't fly the coffin of the Dragon King away like it did before and instead controlled Lu Li to run, nobody knew. That being said, judging from Lu Li's current speed, there seemed to be some clues. Lu Li's speed was not the same as he used to be. He was dozens or hundreds of times faster. His speed was unimaginably fast, comparable to a powerful warrior at the later stage of the Eternal Realm on a fate wheel. Based on common sense, this was impossible. It was hard for a warrior to reach such a speed with only his physical body and Xian energy. Only a powerful warrior above the noble lord realm with profound Xian energy and a well-tempered body could reach such a horrifying speed. Luli was only at the Soul Pond realm. He had released his burning blood skill, and his physical body was strong, but his Xian energy was still too weak. Even if he had profound Xian energy and used some amazing Xian skills, or even profound meaning, he still could not reach such a speed. The problem should be the green glow coming out from Lu Li's body and the strange footwork. Lu Li's body was filled with green energy. Every muscle, bone, and blood was filled with this green energy. What was more, Lu Li's steps were mysterious. He had only taken one step, but he was already hundreds of feet away. At that moment, the space in front of him seemed to be trembling as if he was passing through the air. They didn't know if this was a secret skill or a profound meaning, but one thing was for sure. This was not Lu Li's ability. He couldn't even control his own body, so this must be the work of a demon. The group of people coming from the front was startled. The ones searching outside in the middle of the night were all low-level scouts. Most of them were at the Soul Pond realm, the Fate Wheel realm, and some were at the Spirit Sea realm. 1 second, Lu Li was half a mile away. The next second, he was already in front of them. What was more, Lu Li's hair was messy and his clothes were ragged. He was glowing in a green light, but his eyes were glowing in red. He was filled with killing intent. Behind him was a huge golden coffin that was floating in the air. It looked very scary, as if a malicious spirit from hell was dragging the coffin out for revenge. Bang! Before the warriors could come back to their senses, Lu Li swung the cold iron chain and smashed the huge golden coffin forward. Several warriors were smashed away at once. Then he moved his legs and disappeared on the spot the next second. He reappeared more than half a mile away. Strange, demonic, and hair-raising. Many low-level warriors were trembling in fear. Their eyes were filled with fear. They looked at each other, not daring to go after Lu Li. What was more, how could they catch up with Lu Li given their speed? Bang, 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 Lu Li ran wildly. He was surrounded by warriors along the way. Every time he swung the coffin, he could make a clean sweep. The coffin seemed to have some magic power. Every time it hit someone, they would be smashed away as if they were hit by a meteorite. None of them could survive one move from the coffin. The demon didn't start a killing spree. Every time it controlled Lu Li to smash the warriors away, it would run away immediately. Everywhere Lu Li went, there were wounded warriors. Roar, roar, roar. Lu Li himself would roar into the sky from time to time, howling like a beast. In the silent and dark night, his howls were loud and strange. Finally, some powerful warriors came. 4 warriors of the Eternal Realm were teleported over from a nearby city. The 4 flew over on their fate wheels and happened to see Lu Li smashing away several scouts of the Dew family with the coffin. Out of instinct, the 4 were angered. How could Lu Li attack warriors of the Dew family? The 4 didn't know Lu Li's specific identity. All they knew was that Lu Li was a guest valued by the Dew family patriarch. Naturally, the host would be displeased when a guest hurt someone of the host's family. Wait, that punk's eyes are red and he is delirious. I think he has lost his mind. One of them came to his senses. He said, "Let's attack that coffin together and trap that punk. Don't hurt him." Whoosh, with that said, Lu Li suddenly transformed into shadows. More than a dozen Lu Li and more than a dozen coffins appeared on the ground. Then, Lu Li stepped forward. The more than a dozen Lu Li dashed to all directions. Behind each Lu Li, there were more than a dozen coffins. What was more, all the Lu Li looked the same and the coffins were real. The 4 warriors of the Eternal Realm couldn't tell which one was the real one after checking with psychic power. Marvelous. The 4 warriors of the Eternal Realm and the warriors on the ground were dumbfounded. This was clearly beyond the scope of Xian skill or secret skill. This must be a profound meaning, a very powerful one. The thing was, Lu Li was only at the Soul Pond realm, a teenager. How could he learn a profound meaning? The most talented warrior in the history of the Central Plains also learned a profound meaning at the age of 21. But he had already reached the Eternal Realm back then. To learn a profound meaning, the minimum requirement was the Eternal Realm. In history, there had never been a warrior below the Eternal Realm who could learn a profound meaning. The Soul Pond realm cultivated the soul and the fate wheel realm changed fate. Only when the soul was strong could one live longer. Only then could warriors have the chance to contact the origin of heaven and earth and learn profound meanings. They didn't know that there was a demon in the coffin of the Dragon King, or that Lu Li was controlled by a demon. They all thought this was Lu Li's means. Naturally, they were stunned, but there were more than a dozen shadows, which was similar to Lu Li's apparition. What was different was that not even the psychic power of the eternal realm could detect the shadows. The demon must have modified the apparition Xian skill and increased its power. Chapter 295. Whoosh! From the mountains to the west of the Garden City, 3 men flew over. The one in the front had snow-white hair, a sword on his back, and a ghost mask on his face. The one behind him had a strong build like a beast in human form. Who else could it be but Mingyu and Yu Huaxin? Duran was at the back. The 3 of them had been searching in the wild without a moment's rest. They teleported to the Garden City as soon as they got the news. Then they flew over as fast as they could, because the news came from nearby. The 3 of them released their beads of life and flew quickly. Soon they saw several men sitting on the ground with their legs crossed and healing. They were all injured by Lu Li. Where are they? Duran shouted from the distance. The man on the ground came back to his senses. He pointed to the southwest and said they went that way. The 3 of them didn't stop and went after Lu Li. Along the way, they saw many injured men. They asked some questions and learned that they were injured by Lu Li with the coffin. The 3 of them felt uneasy. Lu Li was a man with a sense of propriety. He wouldn't act recklessly. Since he had smashed people with the coffin, it must not be his intention. In other words, Lu Li might have lost his mind. Go after them. The 3 of them sped up. They were all anxious and worried. After flying for another hour, the 3 of them finally caught up with the 4 imperishable realm martial artists. Where are they? Duran shouted from the distance. The 4 warriors of the eternal realm looked at Duran and stopped. One of them said with shame, "We lost them." Lost them? Are you good for nothings? Duran flew into a rage. How fast could Lu Li be when he was pulling the coffin? How could they lose them? That warrior blinked his eyes and explained, "Patriarch, you can't blame us. That guy is fast, no slower than us. He can generate more than a dozen clones, and we cannot even detect them with psychic power. We didn't even know it was the real one. We lost him. How is that possible?" Mingyu and Yu Huaxin were shocked. Mingyu knew about the apparition Xian skill. He could tell the real one with psychic power. How could they not detect it? Also, Lu Li was only at the Soul Pond realm. How fast could he be? How could he be faster than an imperishable realm martial practitioner? Mingyu and Yu Huaxin asked a few questions. After learning about what happened, Mingyu and Yu Huaxin were stunned. The 2 of them still couldn't believe it, unless it wasn't the Lu Li they knew. Boom! Thousands of miles to the southeast, a huge firework bloomed, illuminating half the sky. Mingyu, Yu Huaxin, and Du Zheng looked over and were overjoyed. Chase! Clearly, someone from the Du family had realized that they could not stop Lu Li, so they released a signal detonator to ask for help. The 3 of them controlled their heavenly jewels to streak through the skies in pursuit. However, they soon discovered a problem. The signal flare was several thousand li away, so, in such a short time, Lu Li had traveled thousands of miles. What the 4 imperishable realm experts had said was very likely true. The 3 of them couldn't figure it out, so they could only chase after it to see the situation. Even if Lu Li had the speed of a warrior of the eternal realm, the 3 of them were 10 times faster. They should be able to catch up. Thousands of miles was not a long distance for noble Lord Realm warriors. In the time for 2 incense sticks to burn, they arrived at the place where the signal detonator was released. From the distance, they only saw dozens injured warriors. Lu Li and the coffin of the Dragon King were nowhere to be seen. Duran asked again and roared, "Which way did they escape?" "I don't know." The warriors were confused. One of them explained, "That young man generated more than a dozen shadows, and there are shadows in all directions. We don't know which way to go. Split up." This time, Mingyu and the others didn't dare to stay any longer. There couldn't be shadows in the direction they came from. There were 3 of them in the other 3 directions. Mingyu flew to the south, Yu Huashan to the west, and Du ran to the west. The 3 of them thought that even if Lu Li ran at full speed, they could catch up with him very soon. However, the 3 of them chased for thousands of miles but found no clues. None of the scouts on the way were injured. The 3 of them thought they were going in the wrong direction, so they went back and changed directions. 4 hours later, the 3 of them arrived at a county city and met up with the others. Since they couldn't catch up with Lu Li in 4 hours, they must have lost him. The 3 of them wanted to go back to the county to get some information. It was not just the 3 of them. The chief patriarch of the Du family came with more than a dozen warriors of the noble lord realm. None of them found anything. Once again, Lu Li vanished in a thin air. This was so strange that not even the patriarchs of the Du family could understand it, let alone the others. For so many years, the Central Plains had never heard of such a strange thing happening. But some people wondered if there was something evil in the coffin of the Dragon King. Otherwise, how could Lu Li escape the search of so many people and vanish in a thin air for no reason? It was already daylight. The news spread to all the cities and tribes within a radius of thousands of miles in a horrifying speed, and it became more and more mysterious. Someone even said that a young man came from the northern desert with a coffin, and that he was a demon that came from the exit of the northern desert. He was going to demonize everyone at the Central Plains and turn it into a paradise for demons. The Du family had no other choice but to keep sending out messages. All the warriors in a region controlled by the Du family were sent out to look for Lu Li all over the world. They searched for an entire morning, but there was no news. Mingyu, Yu Huashan, and Du Ran all teleported to the dance city. They were waiting in the city so that they could teleport over as soon as there was news. Tens of millions of warriors rushed out from all the cities and searched all over the mountains and plains. Many warriors had signal detonators and jade talismans with them. Once they found a coffin and Lu Li, they would send a message. The family patriarch of the Du family gave an order that this matter must not be spread out and other big families must not know. Otherwise, the other families might be curious and send out powerful warriors, which would make the situation even more chaotic. The Qin family warriors left and didn't do anything else. This was the territory of the Du family. Since they didn't get the coffin at once, the Qin family warriors must have realized that they didn't have a chance. Mingyu, Yu Huashan, and the patriarchs of the Du family spent the entire morning in anxiety. There was no news. They were sitting on pins and needles. Every minute and every second was unbearable. In the afternoon, finally, there was news, but it dumbfounded the patriarchs of the Du family. They heard that Lu Li had appeared at the Creek City with a coffin. Mingyu noticed that Du Rant's expressions were awful. A glint of coldness rose in his eyes as he asked, "Where is the Creek City?" "To the southeast." Du Rant's eyes were filled with doubt. He said in disbelief, "If we go any further, we will no longer be at the territory of the Du family. It will be the territory of the Qin family. The Garden City is hundreds of millions of miles away from the Creek City. It will take us half a day to run at the top of our speed. How did young Master Lu get there? How come he didn't alert any warriors along the way? This is so strange." The territory of the Qin family? Yu Huashan and Mingyu flew out at once and dashed into the teleportation formation at once. Nobody would attack Lu Li at the territory of the Du family. But at the territory of the Qin family, Lu Li's life would be in danger. P.S. I shouted yesterday, and the monthly votes increased by more than 100 all of a sudden. He felt humiliated. All his passion had turned into nothingness. He had more than 10,000 genuine readers. Never mind, he didn't want to fight for the monthly votes. It was too tiring. That being said, many readers still voted actively. They even asked the old freak how to vote. He was touched. Even though he didn't make it to the top 20 on the monthly votes, he would still have 5 chapters today. Chapter 296. In a wilderness to the southeast of the Creek City, Lu Li was running with a coffin. His condition was getting worse. His hair was disheveled, and his cyan robe was in tatters. Many parts of his body were abraded and bleeding. His expression was abnormally ugly, and his eyes were blood-red like two demonic moons. He grimaced in pain and breathed heavily like a mad wild dog. Sometimes he was conscious, and sometimes he was confused. If it were not for the fact that he had a strong will, he would have fallen into a deep sleep. Deep down in his heart, there was a kind of anger that refused to admit defeat and accept his fate. He could not allow his body to be taken over by the demon. He could not turn into a walking dead or a demon. For the past couple of days, he had been fighting with the demon's soul. Sometimes his soul pawn would glow in green and then in white. He and the demon were fighting for control of the soul pond. As for how he could get to the Creek City from the Garden City so quietly, it had nothing to do with him. It was all the demon's ability. The demon activated the transparent inhibition formation on the coffin of the Dragon King and flew all the way here. It avoided the cities along the way, so regular scouts couldn't find it. The demon was smart. It must have known that there were too many powerful warriors at the Garden City. If it stayed there, it would not be able to escape. Therefore, it spent a lot of energy to control the coffin of the Dragon King and escape. It was because the demon was focused on escaping that Lu Li could keep his mind clear. If the demon had been attacking his soul for half a day, he would have been doomed. According to Lu Li's speculation, the demon must have consumed a lot of energy to control the coffin of the Dragon King to fly like this. Otherwise, the demon would keep flying like this. The reason why the demon was controlling the coffin of the Dragon King to move forward was that it wanted to take a break and recover energy. On this thought, Lu Li was cheered up. If the demon consumed a lot of energy, he would have a chance to get rid of the demon's control. He still had a chance to save himself and live on. Controlled by the demon, Lu Li ran away with the coffin. The demon was very skillful. It could cover more than a mile every second. It was running in the mountains and in the wild to avoid the pursuers. Lu Li could sense what was going on outside, but he could not control his body. He was like a remnant soul floating outside his body. He could only see and think, but he could do nothing. I must think a way to save myself. Lu Li was trying to come up with a solution. He thought for a while and realized that there were only two ways. The first was to fight for the control of the soul pawn with the demon, so that the demon could not possess him completely. Then, he could wait for Mingyu and Yu Huashan to rescue him. The second was to find a way to control his physical body and interfere with the demon's movements, so that he could not escape. When Mingyu and the rest arrived, they would naturally find a way to save him. He was only at the Soul Pond realm. His strength, realm, and soul were too weak. It was impossible for him to deal with demons on his own. After thinking it through, Lu Li began to think of a way to control his body. He focused his thoughts on his body, his hands and feet, trying to think of a way to make his body move according to his thoughts. Thump, he tried again and again, resisted again, and forcefully tried to control it. Finally, Lu Li's legs trembled. He suddenly fell to the ground while he was running. The coffin behind him fell to the ground as well, kicking up a cloud of dust. However, he quickly got up and continued to run forward. He found that he could no longer affect any part of his body. Lu Li was cheered up after one success. He had to keep it up. His speed would be slowed down. Mingyu, Yu Huashan, and Du Ran would catch up with him soon. Thump, dozens of miles later, Lu Li once again fell to the ground. Then he got up and continued to run. In Lu Li's soul, he suddenly heard an old voice. "Punk, do you have a death wish? Do you believe that I can corrode your body into a puddle of blood?" Lu Li's soul trembled. Finally, the old demon spoke directly into Lu Li's soul. Instead of being scared, Lu Li became more and more excited. The old demon's voice indicated that he was afraid. Was he afraid that he would be caught up and captured for making trouble? Ha ha ha. Lu Li laughed to himself and said to himself, "Old demon, destroy me, destroy me. I would rather have my body destroyed than be possessed by you." The old demon had taken over part of his soul pond. The old demon should know what he was thinking. As he expected, soon, Lu Li heard the old voice. "Stupid punk, how can I possess you? I can only use your body to run away. Listen to me. When I get to a safe place and recover my strength, I will let you go. I will give you the treasures in the coffin of the Dragon King." If Luli were an average 16-year-old boy, he would have believed the old demon's words. He had been through so many things that his mentality was better than that of his peers. Also, how could he trust the words of the demon? This demon wanted to take over Yu Lingshu's body at the tomb of Dragon King. Luli replied with a cold smile. "Are you trying to fool a 3-year-old? If you just want to run away, it is easy. The ones chasing you are all my men. As long as you let me go, I will tell them not to chase you. How about that?" The old demon replied. "Why should I trust you? What if you come after me again after I let you go?" Luli asked back. "Then why should I trust you?" What the demon said next shocked Luli's soul. The demon said, "Because I am the Dragon King. Do you think I will lie to a kid like you? You have been to the tomb of Dragon King, so you must know my story. I never go back on my words, and I will do what I say." Dragon King. Luli was really scared. This was a human sovereign realm warrior, the overlord that unified the northern desert 10,000 years ago. A man like this would not lie, would he? The Dragon King had passed away 10,000 years ago. Could it be that he knew some secret method to preserve his soul? The demon knew how to control the coffin of the Dragon King. Also, the tomb of Dragon King was completely enclosed. Average powerful warriors could not get in. So, this demon really could be the remnant soul of the Dragon King. Wait. After a while, Luli suddenly realized something. If the demon was the remnant soul of the Dragon King, then how could the divine weapon on the coffin of the Dragon King be explained? Also, the Dragon King was a great emperor. Why did he call himself I instead of I? The most important thing was that the Dragon King was from the northern desert. The coffin of the Dragon King flew out of the tomb of Dragon King. The Dragon King must be hiding at the northern desert to recover his energy or to come back to life. All in all, he would not come to the Central Plains rashly. He had been discovered as soon as he entered the Central Plains. What was more, Luli had never heard that the remnant soul of a person could be preserved after 10,000 years. This was too unbelievable. The means of the demon were not like those of a normal human being. Soon, Luli sneered. "Old demon, who are you trying to fool? I don't want to waste time with you. Either you destroy my body, or I will make trouble for you, so that you cannot escape. When my men get here, you will die as well. Either you let me go, or I swear that my men will not hunt you down." Chapter 297. The teleportation formation in the Creek City glowed as 8 people flew out. Mingyu and Yu Huashun were the front, followed by Du Ran and several patriarchs of the Du family. None of them took iron-armored ships. They flew their beads of life to the southeast at once. The Creek City was the closest city to the southeast of the Du family sphere of influence. Further ahead would be the territory of the Qin family. Du Ran and the others were anxious. Even the second patriarch of the Du family was here. They wanted to stop Lu Li as soon as possible. Otherwise, they would be in trouble if they went deeper into the territory of the Qin family. They sped up to the top of their speed. In the time for one incense stick to burn, they arrived at the area where Lu Li was found. Someone had been waiting here for a long time to point the way. A warrior of the Soul Pond realm pointed to the east and said, "Lords, go this way. Someone has been leading the way. Our men are still trying to stop that young man." Du Ran and the others nodded. The small family at the Creek City was sensible. They didn't have to ask too many questions. The 8 of them went on. There was indeed someone leading the way. They didn't stop for even a moment and flew on. After the time for another 4 incense sticks to burn, Du Ran still couldn't see Lu Li or the coffin of the Dragon King. He frowned because they were already at the territory of the Qin family. "Let's go." Second patriarch of the Du family waved his hand and led the others forward. They must protect Lu Li even if they had to offend the Qin family, even if they had to go to war. More than 15 miles later, a group of warriors of the Eternal Realm suddenly appeared in front of them. Du Ran and the others became gloomy. They were a family affiliated to the Qin family. "Lords!" the warriors shouted from afar. This area is under martial law. The Qin family has ordered that nobody is allowed in. Please forgive us." What they were worried about the most had happened. The Qin family had found Lu Li in the coffin of the Dragon King. They must have sent out a large number of powerful warriors to stop Lu Li and the others so that they could take all the treasures in the coffin of the Dragon King for themselves. Piss off. Mingyu didn't care so much. He released his force directly and suppressed everyone. Then he dashed on like a shooting star. Yu Huashan followed him without hesitation. A glint of coldness flashed in the eyes of the second patriarch of the Du family. He waved his hand and said, "Let's go. If the Qin family warriors try to stop us, just fight. But don't kill them." Second patriarch of the Du family was at the peak of the noble lord realm. He was powerful and had great authority in the family. Since he said so, the rest of the elders naturally did not say anything else and followed closely behind. The further they flew, the more people they encountered. However, they were all ordinary martial artists. Forget about intercepting them. They flew past them without even seeing them clearly. Over there, after the time for 3 incense sticks to burn, Yu Huashan suddenly shouted. Everyone looked over and faintly saw a young man running madly while pulling a golden coffin. Everyone was overjoyed and hurriedly flew over. However, before they could get close, the figure and the coffin disappeared into thin air. Everyone was astonished. How could it disappear? Mingyu reacted quickly and said in a deep voice, "This is an illusion. Young Master's real body is definitely nearby." Everyone remembered that Lu Li had released more than a dozen illusions to escape. They came to their senses and flew forward. After flying for 3 miles, a glint of coldness flashed in Du Bu's eyes. Du ran and the others became solemn. There were 6 noble lord realm warriors in front of them. Needless to say, they were from a Qin family. The 6 noble lord realm warriors were flying fast. In front of them, there was a young man dragging the golden coffin. Swish, swish, 3 noble lord realm warriors of the Qin family shot out 3 rays of light at the direction of the coffin. Mingyu shouted angrily, "Stop!" Whoosh, Lu Li, who was running with the coffin, seemed to have eyes on the back of his head. His body suddenly generated many illusions. 1, 2, 5, 10, 30. In the end, there were more than 60 people in front of them. More than 60 Lu Li were pulling more than 60 coffins and running to all directions. Every one of them was real, and every coffin was glistening. There were even more than 60 little whites that were tied to the coffins. What a marvelous technique. Du Bu, the second patriarch of the Du family, used his psychic power to check, but he could not see through the real Lu Li. He couldn't help but exclaim, how come young Master's apparition skill is so powerful? That is freaky." Mingyu was stunned. Before, Lu Li could only generate more than a dozen clones. Now, he could generate more than 60. Before, Mingyu could find a real Lu Li with psychic power. Now he couldn't. What was more strange was, not only could Lu Li generate illusions, but he could also generate coffins and control the clones to run to all directions. The more than 60 Lu Li took a step forward, and each one of them covered a distance of more than a mile. Several Lu Li even dashed toward the powerful warriors of the Qin family and Mingyu. Everyone was dumbfounded. How could they chase after the real Lu Li when they couldn't tell the real one? How to attack? How to suppress them? Boom, 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 boom. Powerful warriors of the Qin family made their moves in the end. There were several illusions coming toward them. What if they were the real Lu Li? When their attacks hit the phantoms, they disappeared one by one, turning into nothingness. The rest of the fake clones only lasted for 3 seconds before they all turned into nothingness and disappeared. In 3 seconds, Lu Li's real body had moved more than 30 miles away. The warriors stood still for 3 seconds. When all the illusions disappeared, Lu Li was nowhere to be found. Disciples of the Lu family are really something. He has learned profound meaning at such a young age and at such a realm. Du Bu exclaimed again. He waved his hand and said, "Go after him." They flew over. A powerful warrior of the Qin family shouted coldly, "Du Bu, This is the territory of the Qin family. You have come in rashly to fight for treasures. Are you trying to start a war with the Qin family? Bulsh asterisk T. Dubu's words were rude, and he was a boorish man himself. He glared at them and said, "What do you mean by fighting for treasures? The young man carrying the coffin is a friend of the Du family. What is more, didn't the Qin family send someone to the territory of the Du family yesterday? I will tell you the truth. It doesn't matter if you fight for treasures. But if you hurt that young man, I will fight you to the death." With that said, Dubu paid no more attention to the warriors of the Qin family and went around. He had people spread out to search for the real Lu Li. Boom! Not long after, a signal detonator lit up in the sky to the east. Clearly, the scouts of the Qin family had found Lu Li. Let's go. The warriors continued to chase after Lu Li. Powerful warriors of the Qin family flew over as well. However, when they got closer, they saw many more Lu Li carrying coffins and running away. They didn't know which one was the real one. They didn't know which one to chase or which one to stop. How are we going to catch him? Ming Yu and Yu Huashen looked at each other, dumbfounded. They had thought that they could find a way to save Lu Li after they caught up with him. Now, they realized that they couldn't even stop Lu Li, let alone Ming Yu and Yu Huashen. Even though Lu Li was slower than them, his apparition was so powerful that he could get away every time. Chapter 298. Lu Li was running with the coffin. Of course, it was not because he was controlling his body. He didn't have the ability or means to dodge so many noble Lord Realm warriors. His mind was clear. The demon was concentrating on controlling his body, so it didn't have the time to invade his soul. He saw Mingyu, Yu Huashen, and Du Ran, but there was nothing he could do. He couldn't even affect his own body to make trouble at the critical moment, because his soul pond was covered by balls of green energy. Lu Li guessed that he couldn't control his body because his soul pond was surrounded by the green energy. His soul was separated from his body. Naturally, he couldn't control any part of his body. Even Lu Li himself was amazed by the demon's skills, especially the one that could allow him to cross more than half a mile in one step. He could clearly feel, after he took one step, the space trembled. Then he passed through the space and crossed more than half a mile. There was also apparition. This was his heaven-grade Xian skill, but it was more powerful and it was still growing. Previously, the demon could only generate more than a dozen clones, even when he was controlling his body. Just now, there were more than 60. It meant that the demon had stolen this Xian skill from his soul and then improved it or merged it with other skills or profound meanings to achieve the current power. The noble Lord Realm warriors were stunned. It meant that not even noble Lord Realm warriors could detect the real body with psychic power. Lu Li was amazed by the demon's abilities. But a demon that could stay in the coffin of the Dragon King for so many years and still have a remnant of its soul must be incredible. The demon continued to control Lu Li's body to move forward. Every time the noble Lord Realm warriors were about to catch up, the demon would release apparition Xian skill and run away. Mingyu, Yu Huashen, Du Ran tried to find a way. When the demon released apparition Xian skill, they would spread out and try to find the real body at once. There was one time when Du Bu found the real body. But as soon as he got closer, the demon released apparition Xian skill again. Du Bu could do nothing but watch. Apparition Xian skill could be used indefinitely as long as Lu Li still had Xian energy in his spirit sea. Lu Li had abundant Xian energy in his spirit sea. Even without absorbing Xian energy, he could last for several months. Therefore, if the Du family and the Qin family didn't send over more powerful warriors, they wouldn't be able to stop Lu Li. Just like that, they fled and chased all the way. An afternoon passed, and the sky quickly darkened. Lu Li had traveled for thousands of miles with more than a dozen warriors of the noble Lord Realm. Qin family sent over 3 noble Lord Realm warriors as well. Now, there were 17 noble Lord Realm warriors following them. Send a message to the Patriarch and ask him to take action. A Patriarch of the Qin family was at a loss of what to do when he saw that Lu Li could generate more than 60 shadows. He frowned, knowing that he couldn't continue to delay. Otherwise, no one would be able to stop the young man and the ancient coffin. The other Qin family elder nodded. Yes, Old Six, go to the nearby cities and send a message to the patriarch. If you don't come, the ancient coffin will enter the wicked sorcery mountain. A Qin clan elder nodded and flew towards the back. Dubu, who was in the distance, saw the Qin family elder flying away. His complexion changed for a moment. He clenched his teeth and said to Duran, "You go and send the message. Ask the patriarch or the grand elder to come over. If Luli enters the wicked sorcery mountain, then not even the gods can save him." "What is the wicked sorcery mountain?" Mingyu asked coldly. Yu Huashan also looked over with worry. Dubu sighed and said, "It is the third most dangerous place at the northern Central Plains. Anyone below the human sovereign realm will die for sure." A patriarch of the Du family added, "This used to be a place where a powerful warrior lived in seclusion. There are many voodoo insects and voodoo poisons and countless inhibition formations. Those are not regular inhibition formations. They are ancient gods' inhibition formations. They are horrifying. If we go in, we will die for sure. Even our family patriarch and the Qin family patriarch don't dare to go in. The master of the Pavilion of Delicacy once went in, but she said nothing after she came out. Nobody from the Pavilion of Delicacy ever went in again." Ming Yu and Yu Huashan's expressions changed. They went on without saying anything. Under the ghost mask, Ming Yu's eyes were extremely cold. If anyone could see his face, they would see that it was awful. Ming Yu and Yu Huashan knew that Luli was no longer their young master. Luli couldn't have such an incredible ability. The two couldn't figure it out, but there was nothing they could do. Ming Yu tried to use force to suppress Luli many times, but it was only an illusion. Not once did Ming Yu get close to Luli. Ming Yu and Yu Huashan accepted their fate. They could only count on the chief patriarch of the Du family or the chief patriarch to come. Both of them were at the human sovereign realm. The Du family only had 2 human sovereign realm warriors. Otherwise, the Du family would have become a 7th-rank family a long time ago. The Du family only had 2 human sovereign realm warriors. Otherwise, the Du family would have become a 7th-rank family a long time ago. Time moved on. It was late at night. It was getting colder and colder. The wind was blowing. A group of noble Lord Realm warriors were flying around, trying to find Luli. Boom, another signal detonator came from the east. But the noble Lord Realm warriors were numb. So what if they found Luli? All they could do now was follow Luli and make sure they didn't lose him. Why is he not here yet? Dubu was getting more and more impatient. They were about to arrive at the wicked sorcery mountain. If the Du family patriarch or the chief patriarch didn't come, it would be too late. Wait, Dubu thought of something and said, "Let's send some warriors to the outside of the wicked sorcery mountain to intercept Luli. As long as young master Lu doesn't enter the wicked sorcery mountain, he will be safe when the family patriarch or the chief patriarch arrive." Yes, yes. The other patriarchs of the Du family nodded. Dubu asked 4 noble Lord Realm warriors to fly directly to the east, ready to intercept Luli. Mingyu thought about it and said, "I will go to the wicked sorcery mountain as well. If young master goes that way, I can stop him." Mingyu followed Dubu and flew directly to the east. They were not far away from the wicked sorcery mountain. In the time for only 3 incense sticks to burn, Mingyu and the others arrived at a towering mountain. The mountain was like a huge beast lying in the wild. It was covered with dark purple fog, giving off a creepy vibe. Just by looking from the outside, one could tell how dangerous and horrifying it was. Mingyu waited nervously. He hoped that Luli wouldn't come this way, but at the same time, he hoped that Luli would come this way so that he could suppress Luli with force. Whoosh! After the time for 2 incense sticks to burn, there came a piercing sound from the west. Then a golden coffin appeared faintly. Luli was coming this way after all. Here he is. Get ready. Mingyu was nervous. The other 4 noble Lord Realm warriors were nervous as well. They released their beads of life, took out their weapons and treasures, ready to stop Lu Li from going in or to suppress him. 5 miles, 1.5 miles, 1.5 miles. They could see Lu Li clearly now. His hair was disheveled, his eyes were red, and his expression was ferocious. He was like a lonely wolf trying to hide from his enemies. "Move!" Mingyu shouted. He flew out and released force at once. The other 4 noble Lord Realm warriors took actions as well. Right at that moment, Lu Li put on a mocking smile. He jumped onto the coffin. The golden coffin suddenly disappeared on the spot after a cyan glare. It had vanished from the world. Boom, 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 everyone's attacks landed on the ground. Lu Li and the coffin had disappeared. They didn't suffer any damage. While they were looking around and searching with their psychic power, a ray of light suddenly came out from the wicked sorcery mountain. Then a golden coffin appeared. However, the golden ancient coffin quickly rushed into the black and purple fog within the wicked sorcery's body and disappeared without a trace. Young Master. Chapter 299. The moment Lu Li went into the wicked sorcery mountain, Mingyu fell from the sky as if he had lost his soul. He stood on the ground absent-mindedly, looking at the mountain with rolling dark purple fog. His eyes were filled with pain. The 4 noble Lord Realm warriors flew down as well and stood next to Mingyu. One of them patted Mingyu's shoulder and comforted him. "Brother, don't be so sad. Maybe your young master is blessed and he can come out safely." Even the patriarch of the Du family couldn't believe it himself. He lowered his voice as well. The other 3 sighed. Even they would be doomed if they went in, let alone Lu Li, not to mention that Lu Li was only at the Soul Pond realm. Mingyu stood there in sadness. He didn't hear what the patriarch of the Du family said. After the time, for a few breaths, the bead of life in his abdomen suddenly glowed. Then he jumped up and rushed toward the wicked sorcery mountain. "Are you crazy? Come back." A patriarch of the Du family noticed what Mingyu was doing. He reached out his hand and shouted. But Mingyu's movement was so sudden that the patriarch of the Du family could not catch him. Mingyu dashed into the dark fog of the wicked sorcery mountain like a shooting star and was soon swallowed up by the dark fog. What? The 4 patriarchs of the Du family looked at each other in shock. Mingyu was going to die with them. He called Lu Li young master. This meant that he was Lu Li's servant. How close must the master and servant be for the servant to risk his life? Whoosh! While they were still in shock, some noises came from behind them. The 4 patriarchs looked over and were embarrassed. They stood there with fear and respect, waiting for the group of people to come. The 4 of them bowed and said, "Greetings, family patriarch. We are guilty. Please punish us." The family patriarch of the Du family was here. He was an old man with bronze skin and was as strong as a tiger. Du Bu and Yu Huashan were behind him. Their expressions changed when they heard what the 4 patriarchs said. Du family patriarch looked at the wicked sorcery mountain with his profound eyes and asked coldly, "How long has he been in there?" A patriarch answered, "A while ago. One of his men went in as well. We tried to stop him, but failed." Mingyu went in as well. Yu Huashan's expression changed. His eyes flickered, but he didn't have the courage to follow them. If Lu Li ordered him to do so, he couldn't resist. He didn't have the courage to throw away his life willingly, nor would he do such a thing. The Du family leader glanced at the evil sorcery mountain, waved his hand, and said, "Go back. I can't do anything about it." Du Bu and the others nodded. Even if Du Bu went in, he might not be able to come out alive. If Lu Li went in, he would be like a child falling into a wolf's den. His chances of survival were almost 0. The family patriarch of the Du family took the lead and flew to the distance, bringing several noble Lord Realm warriors with him. Du Bu and Du Ran stayed. Du Ran stood next to Yu Huashan, afraid that Yu Huashan would follow them. Alas! Du Ran, please make arrangements. Du Bu sighed and left with his men. Du Ran stayed with Yu Huashan. Whoosh! Not long afterward, another group of noble Lord Realm warriors came. They were from the Qin family, but they must have run into the Du family patriarch on the way. They took a look from the distance and went back. Entering the wicked sorcery mountain would mean death. Nobody could save Lu Li. The treasures in the coffin would be buried in the evil sorcery mountain forever. The family patriarchs of the Qin family and the Du family wouldn't risk their lives for some treasures. It wasn't worth it. After the Qin family left, Du Ran looked at Yu Huashan and said, "Brother Yu, don't be too sad. I think this is young Master Lu's life. Alas, how are we going to explain this to the Lu family?" Du Ran was troubled. A disciple of the immediate Lu family died here. It didn't have much to do with the Du family. But if the Lu family wanted an explanation from the Du family, Du Ran would have to kill himself to apologize. No. Yu Huashan shook his head and said, "Young Master is still alive. I'm sure of it. If he is still alive after such a long time, then maybe he can survive." Still alive? Du Ran frowned. He didn't believe it. The voodoo insects in the evil sorcery mountain were the most horrifying. The dark purple fog was the voodoo insect. Once it got into the body, even warriors of the noble lord realm would die. How could Luli be fine? Yes. Yu Huashan nodded with determination. But he didn't explain. He was Lu Li's slave. How could he explain his pride? Because he was Lu Li's slave, he was sure that Lu Li was still alive. Otherwise, the soul worms in his head would either die by themselves or go on a rampage. Lu Li had consumed the jade talisman, so he was the owner of the soul worms. If he consumed the mark in the jade talisman before he died, the soul worms would die immediately. If he died suddenly and didn't have time to consume the mark, then the soul worms would go on a rampage and Yu Huashan might die. Yu Huashan's soul pond was calm, which meant that Lu Li was fine. Since he was still alive after a while, then there was hope that Lu Li could survive. Du Ran still didn't believe it. He looked at Yu Huashan with doubt. Yu Huashan, on the other hand, found a place nearby, sat down with his legs crossed, and waited quietly. He must be on guard at all times. If the soul worms went on a rampage, he could die. Therefore, he decided to wait at the foot of the mountain, either for Lu Li to come out or for the soul worms to go on a rampage. Du Ran thought about it and decided to wait with Yu Huashan for a while. In this way, he could answer to Du Ran. In the future, if the Lu family were to accuse him, he could defend himself. Lu Li was still alive. It was not because of his abilities or luck, but because there was a shield outside the coffin of the Dragon King. The shield had isolated all the toxins and voodoo insects. What was amazing was that Dubu said that the coffin of the Dragon King was surrounded by inhibition formations of the ancient gods. However, the coffin of the Dragon King didn't trigger any of the inhibition formations, even though it was flying here and there. After the time for half an incense stick to burn, the coffin of the Dragon King arrived at a hall on the peak. Bang! Outside the hall was a plaza built with white jade. The coffin of the Dragon King landed on the plaza. The shield slowly disappeared. During the time of flying, Lu Li's body wasn't completely controlled by the demon. He was just restrained by the cold iron chains and couldn't move. He could keep his eyes open to observe his surroundings. At the moment, he was attracted by a hall in front of him. Along the way, he had been surrounded by dark purple fog. However, there was no dark purple fog around the hall in the plaza. The hall was glistening in silver light, lighting up the surroundings. What kind of great hall was this? Lu Li's eyes and soul were attracted by the hall. The style of the hall was different from the one at the northern desert. It seemed this hall didn't have a door. Judging by the angle from the peak and the layout of the plaza, Lu Li should be right in front of the hall. However, there was no door in the hall. On the walls, there were many kinds of insects of all shapes and sizes. More importantly, the insects seemed to be alive. Everywhere Lu Li looked, the insects would come to life, crawling and flying on the walls. There were thousand-legged insects, fat like maggots, black insects with tusks, caterpillars with bird-like wings, insects with flames. Lu Li was dazzled. The insects seemed to have some kind of magic power that could make people unable to move their eyes and minds away. Buzzing soon, however, Lu Li could no longer look at them. The cold iron chains were glowing in green. Surges of energy were transmitted into his body. Lu Li closed his eyes. Chapter 300. Clearly, the demon was running toward the territory of the Qin family and entered the wicked sorcery mountain with a purpose. A purpose. The demon must have some understanding of the wicked sorcery mountain. It was to get rid of the pursuers and then to possess Lu Li's body and gain a new life. Now that it had successfully entered the wicked sorcery mountain, nobody dared to chase after it. It didn't have to worry about anything else, and it could concentrate on invading Lu Li's soul. Billions of strands of green energy transformed into golden needles and pierced into Lu Li's soul. This time, the demon was trying to destroy Lu Li's soul completely, to make it vanish. In this way, the demon could take over Lu Li's soul pond and gain a new life. Lu Li's willpower was strong. The demon had tried to put Lu Li's soul to sleep many times, but it failed due to the influence of the outside world and Lu Li's own resistance. This time, the demon was going to use the cruelest means. It wanted Lu Li to suffer endless pain so that he could not stand it anymore and his soul would collapse. Soon, Lu Li let out a painful howl. His soul could not control his body, but he was howling out of instinct. It was evident how much pain he was suffering. Out of instinct, he rolled over and fell from the coffin. Then, he rolled on the ground and howled again. However, he was tied up by the cold iron chains, so he could only roll around the coffin. The expression on his face was completely distorted, and the muscles all over his body were trembling. He looked like a dying beast. Squeak, squeak, little white, which was entangled by the black vines on the coffin, screamed. It opened its mouth and kept biting the vines. However, the vines were glowing in green, and little white could not break them. Billions of green needles pierced into Lu Li's soul pond. The pain was more painful than being burned by fire or being sliced into pieces. It just so happened that Lu Li's soul was under attack. He could not pass out yet. He had to enjoy the pain. A man could go mad when he was severely stimulated. What would happen if the stimulation was 10 times, 100 times, or 1,000 times worse? The result was obvious. The man would not be able to stand the pain. His soul would collapse and eventually disappear. It was like stabbing something with a dagger, and there would be several holes in it. If a huge mountain were to be used to crush this thing, it would be torn apart and crushed into fine powder. That was what Lu Li was experiencing. He felt he was going crazy and his soul was about to explode. His consciousness was about to be obliterated and his soul was about to vanish. No, no, no. He roared angrily, his heart surging with a strong sense of unwillingness. He hadn't saved his parents, and he hadn't gotten Lu Ling back. He was still young, and he was not willing to die like this. He didn't want his body to be taken over by an old demon. It was worse than death. His soul, which was on the verge of collapse, surged with a strong obsession. This obsession was like a spark that suddenly set the prairie ablaze. The entire soul pond had been shining with green light, but now it was surrounded by white light. The green energy had been expelled. Lu Li was surprised. This time, even the old demon was taken aback. Lu Li's willpower was freakish. Soon, the old demon turned the energy into green needles and continued his attack. He couldn't believe that Lu Li, a warrior of the soul pond realm, with such a weak soul, could withstand his attacks. If 1 time was not enough, then 10 times. If 10 times were not enough, then 100 times, 1,000 times. Sooner or later, Lu Li's soul would collapse. That was it. The old demon attacked again, and Lu Li fought back again and again. The dominance of the soul pond would be taken over by the old demon and then by Lu Li. Lu Li rolled around out of instinct. Every now and then, he would bump into the coffin. Blood oozed out. The cold iron chains clanked, and Little White kept roaring. Lu Li's willpower was strong, which had something to do with the environment he grew up in. He and Lu Ling depended on each other since they were young. They were lonely and were bullied. Therefore, Lu Li was determined since he was a kid. He refined his body and practiced his saber in the lake at the back of the mountain for 7 years, rain or shine, not even when he was sick. Lu Ling once said, "Don't give up even when you are in a hopeless situation. Don't commit suicide even when you are facing certain death." Lu Li had always listened to Lu Ling and kept it in mind. If it weren't for his tenacity and if it weren't for the fact that Lu Ling taught him how to be a man, he would have collapsed a long time ago. 10 times, 100 times, 200 times. 2 days and 2 nights had passed. Luli had stopped rolling around. He was lying on the ground like an insect. His muscles were still trembling. It was obvious that he and the demon were still fighting for control of the soul pond. 220 times, 260 times. Lu Li's soul didn't dissipate. Instead, he fought back even more violently. The old fiendish demon was already numb from the initial shock and astonishment. Luli was a freak. Not only was his soul and willpower strong, but his body had many wonders as well. For example, the silver dragon mark on Lu Li's back, his burning blood skill, and dragon roar skill. All of these intrigued the old demon. Lu Li was young. His realm was not high, but he had a solid foundation. The more Lu Li resisted, the more the old demon wanted Lu Li's body. After another day and night, the old demon had given up. He realized that this was not going to work. He couldn't make Lu Li's soul collapse, or take over Lu Li's soul pond and body completely. Okay, punk, you have forced me to do this. The old demon had to make the worst choice. He decided to swallow Lu Li's soul and merge with it. If Lu Li's soul collapsed, then his body would be a blank shell. There would be no trace of Lu Li left. This was the perfect way for the demon to take over Lu Li's body. If Lu Li's soul collapsed, then his body would be a blank shell. There would be no trace of Lu Li. This was the perfect way to take over. On the other hand, if the demon took over Lu Li's soul, even though Lu Li's soul would be destroyed, there would be a remnant of his soul left behind. There would be a spiritual mark left behind. This was not the perfect way to take over Lu Li's body. Buzzing. The green energy formed an ugly ghost face above Lu Li's soul pond. Then the ghost face rushed into the soul pond, ready to swallow Lu Li's soul. However, when the ghost face completely entered Lu Li's soul pond, something strange happened. The silver dragon mark on Lu Li's soul pond suddenly glowed. Then the silver dragon moved and wandered around the soul pond. At first, the soul pond was surrounded by green energy. As the silver dragon moved, the entire soul pond glowed, and the energy was absorbed by the silver dragon. What is this? Lu Li heard a roar in his mind. The demon did notice the silver dragon mark on Lu Li's soul pond. However, the silver dragon mark didn't show any reaction. Several times when Lu Li's soul was about to collapse, the silver dragon mark didn't move. How come it moved as soon as his soul entered the soul pond? It was okay. The thing was, there was a surge of horrifying energy and pressure from the silver dragon, which was devouring Lu Li's energy and soul. Chapter 301. Lu Li was scared as well. He knew there was a silver dragon mark in his soul pond. When he reached the soul pond realm, there was a silver dragon mark in his soul pond out of nowhere. He was surprised for a long time when the animal tooth pendant disappeared as well. Since the appearance of the silver dragon mark, nothing had happened. Today was the first time it had acted. Not only was there a demon in his soul pond, but there was also a silver dragon. How could Lu Li not be scared? Soon, his fear turned into surprise. He could feel the green energy in his soul pond was disappearing, and the ghost face was getting weaker. The ghost face was scuttling around in the soul pond, trying to get out. However, the soul pond was filled with silver light. As soon as the ghost face got out, it screamed and shrank back. What the hell is this? What is going on? How is this possible? No. No way. How can a silver dragon be so powerful? No way. I can't die. I can't die. From Lu Li's soul came more and more angry cries. The ghost face was getting more and more frightened, but there was nothing he could do. He was trapped in the soul pond by the silver dragon. The silver light from the silver dragon was devouring his energy. The ghost face was getting weaker and weaker, and he was slowing down. Punk, make the damn silver dragon stop. I will not try to possess you. I will let you go right now. Punk, hurry up, or I will die with you. Let me out, and I will give you all the treasures in the coffin of the Dragon King. There's a priceless herb in there. You can even trade it for a perfectural city. The demon was in a panic. He tried to persuade Luli to stop the silver dragon. How could Luli do that? Even if he could, he wouldn't. Trust the demon? He was not an idiot. The ghost face was getting thinner and could disappear at any time. The demon said to Luli again, "Punk, there are many treasures in the Hall of Wicked Sorcery outside. I am the only one in the world who knows how to open the Hall of Wicked Sorcery." Once, the Wicked Sorcery Emperor was a powerful warrior that could fight against the royal families of the Central Plains. "Let me out, and I will open the Hall of Wicked Sorcery for you." "How about that?" Hall of Wicked Sorcery? Luli was intrigued. The demon said the mountain was called the Wicked Sorcery Mountain. That demon Magi Palace was the one with no door outside. Was this the palace of the evil sorcerer Great Emperor? Just how powerful was the Wicked Sorcerer Emperor to be able to contend with the Central Prefecture's royal family? Tempted as he was, Luli would not let go of the old demon. What was more, he could not control the silver dragon. He had to wait and see. "Let's die together." At the last moment, the demon made up his mind. His primary soul was about to be consumed. He had to drag Luli down with him. The translucent, ghostly face shone with a dazzling green light, and a terrifying energy was emitted from the ghostly face. Not good. From the depth of Luli's soul surged a sense of fatal danger. However, there was nothing he could do at the moment. He could only think to himself that he was going to die. Whoosh! Right at that moment, the silver dragon that had been circling outside suddenly dashed into the soul pond. It opened its mouth and swallowed the ghost face. Buzz! The silver dragon glared. Without any pause, it flew back to the surface of the soul pond and became the silver dragon again. Luli's soul pond had calmed down completely. Is everything okay now? A thought flashed across Luli's mind. He was still in a daze. After all, this was too bizarre. But he reacted quickly. He tried to control his body at once. He opened his eyes, took a look, and then bounced up from the ground. However, because he was tied down by the cold iron chains, he pulled the coffin up and fell to the ground with it. "I can move." Luli opened his mouth and said in a trembling voice. He stood up and twisted his body. He grabbed the cold iron chains and spun the coffin around. Then he walked around the white jade plaza for a bit. Making sure that his body was under his control, Luli laughed in ecstasy. Rebirth after a disaster. How delightful was this? Especially during the 3 days and nights. He had suffered too much pain. He felt he was in hell for those 3 days and nights. But now, he felt he was in heaven. Luli was so excited that he burst into tears, unable to control himself. Squeak, squeak, sensing that Luli had become the master was familiar with, Little White shouted in excitement. Luli came back to his senses. He took off the cold iron chains and walked over to Little White. However, Little White was still tied up by the black vines with a green glow around it. Luli tried, but he couldn't break the black vines. The green energy seemed to have some kind of power that made the black vine stronger. "Little White, don't worry. I will figure something out. Let me sort out my thoughts and figure out my physical condition." Luli told Little White about it. Then he sat down with his legs crossed and began to check his body and soul. His body was fine. The green energy had all gone to his soul pond and was devoured by the silver dragon. His soul pond was quiet. There was no trace of green energy. The demon was gone. The silver dragon was engraved on the soul pond quietly. Everything was fine. It was so good that Luli felt it was surreal, like he was in a dream. He checked for an hour and thought for the time for 2 incense sticks to burn. Still, he couldn't find anything. One thing was for sure. He was safe now. The remnant soul of the demon had been devoured by the silver dragon. As for whether the silver dragon would act rashly or if there would be repercussions, Luli didn't know. Luli wasn't afraid of the silver dragon in his soul pond because he also had a silver dragon mark on his back. He was about to die just now, and it was the silver dragon that helped him. It meant that the silver dragon wouldn't harm him. Instead, it was helping him. Luli put his mind at ease after he thought this through. He walked around the coffin, tried to open it, and tried to pull out the relic weapon. However, no matter how hard he tried, The coffin wouldn't budge, and the relic weapon wouldn't budge. He even used the burning blood skill to enhance his strength. Still, there was nothing he could do. Luli looked at the Hall of Wicked Sorcery and walked around it. He stopped after he made sure that there was no door. Even if there were many treasures in the hall, as the demon said, Luli didn't dare to think too much. The only thing on his mind now was to get out of here and find Mingyu and Yu Huaxin to open the coffin and free Little White from the black vines. The problem was how to get out. Luli looked at the dark purple haze around him. He walked around the white jade plaza and saw many insects flying around in the haze. Luli didn't have to get close. He could tell from a distance that the insects were poisonous. Anyone who touched them would die. Luli was in a good mood. He just had a narrow escape. What else could he be unsatisfied about? If there was no way out, he could find a way. As long as he was alive, there would be hope. He calmed himself down and sat down near the coffin again, trying to find a way. He checked his body and then his soul. When he was concentrating on the silver dragon mark in his soul pond, he suddenly trembled. He felt there was some information in his mind, some memories that didn't belong to him. There was a way to control the coffin of the Dragon King. Chapter 302. Luli sorted through the information that popped up in his mind. He was confused. There was very little information. There was only a way to control the coffin of the Dragon King. Nothing else. The demon once said that he knew how to open the Hall of Witchcraft, as well as where he came from and why he was in the coffin of the Dragon King. If the demon's soul was completely refined, the silver dragon mark should have transmitted all of the demon's memories to him. Right? This demon was very strong. That kind of mystical footwork, as well as the ability to strengthen the apparition mystic skill, were all miraculous skills. Luli wanted to get those memories and then figure out a way to learn the skills. After a while, Luli focused his psychic power on the silver dragon mark in his soul pond. No more messages came. All he could do was continue to comprehend the information about controlling the coffin of the Dragon King. He had to save Little White and fly the coffin of the Dragon King out of the Wicked Sorcery Mountain first. An hour later, Luli was surprised again. He realized that the way to control the coffin of the Dragon King was not complete. There was information about how to control the coffin of the Dragon King, how to open the protective shield, and how to become invisible. However, there was no way to open the coffin lid. In other words, Luli could control the coffin of the Dragon King to release the cyan shield. He could control the coffin of the Dragon King to fly and hide, but he could not open it. Luli was wondering if the silver dragon mark in his soul pond was doing this on purpose. Or could it be that it knew there was danger in the coffin, so it didn't tell Luli the way to open it? Or did the demon destroy this memory before it died? They didn't want him to obtain the treasures in the ancient coffin? Luli still couldn't figure it out. He got up and walked to the coffin of the Dragon King. His hands glowed with Xian energy, and he slowly injected it into the coffin. His mind followed his profound energy and sank into the patterns and runes on the ancient coffin. Then, he controlled the patterns and runes to move. Soon, the runes and patterns on the coffin of the Dragon King began to glow. The black vines that bound Little White automatically shrank back into the coffin and disappeared. Xiao, Little White flew over and threw itself into Lu Li's arms. It stuck out its tongue and kissed Lu Li several times, chirping with excitement. Little White, let's leave this place first. Lu Li patted Little White's head and jumped onto the coffin of the Dragon King. He put one hand on the coffin of the Dragon King, closed his eyes, and continued to control the runes on the coffin. Buzz! The coffin of the Dragon King flashed a cyan light, and then a cyan semi-transparent shield appeared. The shield could make the coffin invisible. From the outside, the coffin of the Dragon King had disappeared. Go! Luli poured some Xian energy into it and controlled the other runes to flash. The coffin of the Dragon King rose into the air and shot into the dark purple fog outside. The purplish-black mist was a voodoo poison. It was extremely terrifying, and there were countless voodoo insects in the mist. Fortunately, the protective shield of the coffin of the Dragon King prevented the voodoo poison and voodoo insects from entering. Lu Li controlled the coffin of the Dragon King to fly slowly. It was not that the coffin of the Dragon King was slow, but Lu Li himself. This kind of place would usually have restrictions. Otherwise, the old demon wouldn't have had to turn left and right when it flew in. He tried his best to recall the route the demons took when they flew in. Fortunately, the demons did not control his soul at that time, so he still had some memory of the route. Lu Li had flown in for the time for half an incense stick to burn, but it had taken him the time for 3 incense sticks to burn to get out. What was more, there was still black and purple fog ahead of him. Lu Li was still in there. Phew, at that moment, Lu Li suddenly stopped the coffin of the Dragon King. He heard some heavy gasps from down there. There was endless pain in the gasps, as horrifying as the growls of ghosts. Is that Mingyu? Lu Li listened for a while, and his pupils contracted. He was familiar with the voice. It seemed to be Mingyu's voice. Lu Li thought about it, but didn't act rashly. He just looked at Little White and asked, "Little White, there's poison in the fog, and there are many insects. There should be more inhibition formations down there. Are you sure you can get down there?" Little White was born with the ability to suppress many Xian beasts. Inhibition formations seemed to be ineffective against it, which was why Lu Li asked it first. Little White looked down with contempt, raised its head, and squeaked. Its expression seemed to be saying that this was child's play for it. "Okay, be careful and go down. If it is really Mingyu down there, tell him to come up. If there is any danger, come up at once," Lu Li said in a serious manner. Little White raised its head, kicked on the ground with its 4 short legs, and flew down in a blur. When Little White was about to get out of the shield, Lu Li made the shield of the coffin of the Dragon King thinner, so that Little White could go through. Then the coffin of the Dragon King glared, isolating the dark purple fog and the voodoo insects. Phew, it was indeed Mingyu down there. Mingyu had stayed in there for several days, but he didn't die. This was all thanks to his profound meaning. He used force to suppress the space around him so that the toxins and voodoo insects could not get close. But he was poisoned. He triggered the inhibition formation and the toxins entered his body. He was lying on the ground, breathing heavily, of course. The main reason why Mingyu was still alive was that he didn't go deeper into the wicked sorcery mountain. The toxins outside were not so horrifying. The deeper he went, the worse it would be. Whoosh! With a slight noise, Little White flew down into the area covered by Mingyu's force. Mingyu was alerted at once. He looked up coldly. Little White. Of course, Mingyu knew Lu Li's pet. He was surprised. Then his eyes glowed. He weakened his force and let Little White fly down. Little White landed near Mingyu's head and used its furry paw to pat Mingyu's head. Then it pointed to the sky. Mingyu trembled in excitement. He said in a deep voice, "You mean young master is up there?" "Squeak, squeak," Little White shouted and nodded. It pointed up with its paw, indicating for Mingyu to go up. Mingyu got up with difficulty. He closed his eyes and sat with his legs crossed. After a while, the bead of life on his abdomen glowed and enlarged. Mingyu flew up to his bead of life with Little White. He released force at once to suppress the toxins and voodoo insects around him. Whoosh, Mingyu flew up. His voodoo insects were suppressed and couldn't move. But the toxins were everywhere. Inevitably, Mingyu's body was covered with toxins as he moved through the area. Little White was miraculous. With a white glare around it, the toxins could not touch Little White. When Little White flew down, the voodoo insects didn't dare to get close to it. Mingyu groaned. He already had a lot of toxins in his body, and he had been trying to force them out for the past couple of days. Now, the amount of toxins in his body had increased by 10 times. He was in so much pain that he almost fell down. He made up his mind and flew his bead of life up. Lu Li sent something down below. He opened the shield at once, so Mingyu could fly up. Whoosh! Finally, Mingyu flew up to the coffin of the Dragon King. As soon as he came up, he put away his bead of life and fell to the ground. His hands and feet were trembling. His skin was rotting in many places. His back was covered with pus, which was a ghastly sight. Young master. Even so, as soon as Mingyu came up, he saw Lu Li. Seeing that the young master he was familiar with was back, Mingyu felt relieved and overjoyed. He even choked with sobs. "Now, don't say anything," Luli said solemnly. He took out some healing pellets from his ring and was about to feed Mingyu. "Don't move," Mingyu shouted at once. "Young master, don't touch me. I have toxins in me. You will be poisoned as well. Don't worry, young master. I will not die. I can force the toxins out slowly." Luli's hand stopped in midair. He looked at Mingyu nervously. Chapter 303. Instead of flying the coffin of the Dragon King, Luli floated in midair and waited for Mingyu to detoxify first. Mingyu did not even have the strength to sit cross-legged. He closed his eyes and collapsed on the coffin of the Dragon King. The Xian energy in his body shone, forcing the poison out bit by bit. Mingyu sure was very powerful. Not only could he suppress the enemies around him, but he could also suppress the voodoo poison in his body. Otherwise, he would have died a few days ago. Voodoo was not an ordinary poison. It was a poison with life and could spread quickly. Mingyu's force suppressed the voodoo poison in his body, which was why he was able to force it out bit by bit. If it was an ordinary martial artist, they would definitely be helpless. 2 days. Luli controlled the coffin of the Dragon King to float in midair for 2 days. Finally, most of the toxins in Mingyu's body were gone. Only some residual toxins were left. "Young master." When Mingyu opened his eyes, he looked at Luli at once, trying to ask some questions. Luli waved his hand and said, "Don't say anything. Let's go out first. My Xian energy can't hold on for too long. Without the protection of the coffin of the Dragon King, it will be hard for us to get out." The coffin of the Dragon King needed energy to float in midair. Previously, it depended on the demon's energy, but now, Luli had to pour his own Xian energy in. The flying of the coffin of the Dragon King and the shield required a lot of energy. Luli almost ran out of Xian energy during the past 2 days. Luli was afraid that he might disturb Mingyu, so he didn't move. Also, he wanted to ask Mingyu about the way he came in so that he could find the right way out. He controlled the coffin of the Dragon King to move forward slowly. At the same time, he asked Mingyu about the way he came in and tried to figure out the most suitable way. After the time for one incense stick to burn, Luli could faintly see a glimmer of light ahead. Luli looked towards Mingyu at once. Mingyu released his psychic power while Luli cooperated with him to control the inhibition formation of the coffin of the Dragon King. "They're out." Mingyu let out a sigh. His eyes were filled with the joy of surviving a disaster. He paused and added, "Young master, there are 2 people outside. I think they are Yu Huashen and Patriarch Du Zheng." "Oh." Luli pulled a long face. After some thoughts, he asked, "Did they sense your psychic power?" "I don't think so," Mingyu explained. "I didn't check on them. I just sensed their auras from afar." "All right." Luli nodded and said, "Mingyu, you go out first and work with Yu Huashen to trick Du Ran away. Tell Du Ran that I am dead." "Ah." Mingyu didn't understand and said, "Young master, Du Ran is a good person. When you were in trouble some time ago, he was very helpful. Why did he do this?" "I naturally have my reasons for doing this." Luli didn't have much time to explain. He just said, "Send Du Zheng away as soon as possible, and then we will leave quietly. We cannot go to the City of Delicacy. Don't let the Du family and the Qin family know that I'm still alive and that I've left the wicked sorcery mountain. Do you understand?" Mingyu seemed to have understood something. He nodded and didn't say anything else. Luli flew the coffin of the Dragon King on. When they were about to fly out of the dark purple haze, Luli looked at Mingyu, who flew out. Luli had his reasons for doing so. Some time ago, he was controlled by a demon, which caused a huge commotion in the Du and Qin families' territories. Even the other clans in the northern part of the central prefecture, including the Northern Overlord, the Pavilion of Delicacy, might have received the news. If Luli made it out of the wicked sorcery mountain alive, what would the consequences be? The family patriarchs of the Du family and the Qin family would pay attention. They would ask how Luli got out of the wicked sorcery mountain. Also, what had happened before? In this way, the coffin of the Dragon King would inevitably be exposed. What if the family patriarch of the Du family asked to open the coffin? What if the family patriarch of the Qin family accused Lu Li of killing people of the Qin family and asked Lu Li to hand over the coffin of the Dragon King? What if the powerful warriors of the Pavilion of Delicacy got involved? The demon said that there was a divine herb in the coffin of the Dragon King, which could be traded for a prefectural city. It must be priceless. Also, Lu Li's identity might be exposed once he was noticed by all parties. What could he do to stop Lu Renhuang's enemies when they came? Lu Li planned to take all the treasures in the coffin of the Dragon King for himself. He risked his life to get the coffin of the Dragon King. He would not share it with the Du family. Even though the Du family had made an effort and sent many warriors to save him, Lu Li still didn't trust the Du family completely. Naturally, he wouldn't entrust his life to the Du family. Of course, he liked the Du family better now. He would remember the favor the Du family owed him. Mingyu? As soon as Mingyu flew out, Yu Huaxin and Du Ran sensed it. Both of them were shocked. Mingyu had been in there for 5 days, and he could come out alive. But Mingyu looked miserable. He was covered in pus and blood. His eyes were filled with pain. As soon as he flew out, he fell to the ground, gasping for air. Du Ran and Yu Huaxin immediately went over to help him up. Mingyu stopped them and said, "Don't touch me. I am poisoned." Their hands stopped in midair. Mingyu sighed and said, "Young master is dead. Patriarch Du, you don't have to wait here anymore. Don't worry about us. Let's go back to the northern desert by ourselves." Yu Huaxin was astonished. Mingyu glanced at him. Yu Huaxin reacted quickly. He understood immediately. His expressions became gloomy. He closed his eyes, pretending to be in pain. Dead? Alas! Du Ran didn't suspect anything. He didn't believe that Lu Li could survive either. He didn't leave. He stood there for a while and said, "My condolences. Brother Ming, do you need me to go to our family and get you some antidote?" "No." Mingyu waved his hand weakly and said, "Brother Du, I can get the poison out myself. Don't worry about me. I want to stay here and mourn for our young master for a while. I will go back to the northern desert after I get the poison out. If there's any trouble, we will go to the Dan City to find you. I hope you can help us." Mingyu will be grateful. Since Mingyu had put it this way, Du Ran didn't say anything else. He nodded and said, "Okay, if you need anything, just come to the Dan City to find me. If you want to join the Du family, you can come to the Dan City as well. I will recommend you to our family patriarch. Take care. I will go back to report. See you." Du Ran had been waiting here for a few days. He had lost his patience. He had to go back to report and ask for forgiveness. At the same time, he had to figure out how to deal with the aftermath and how to deal with the Lu family's accusations. For the Du family, Lu Li was the most important person. Mingyu and Yu Huaxin were not important. The Du family didn't want to recruit them. After all, they were Lu Li's servants. After Du Ran left, Yu Huaxin wanted to ask about Lu Li, but Mingyu winked at him. Yu Huaxin understood. They said no more and waited outside quietly. After a while, Mingyu and Yu Huaxin made sure that there was nobody nearby. Mingyu used his psychic power to check. After the time for a few breaths, space trembled. A huge golden coffin flew out from the dark purple haze. Lu Li deactivated the shield over the coffin of the Dragon King and shouted, "Get up. We will leave now." Chapter 304. Yu Huaxin, come here and pour your Xian energy into the runes. Make sure that the runes here move clockwise and the ones here move in this direction, dozens of miles away from the wicked sorcery mountain. Lu Li couldn't go on anymore. He called Yu Huaxin over and told him how to fly the coffin of the Dragon King. The inhibition formation of the coffin of the Dragon King was easy to control. In fact, it was similar to the ancient chariot and iron-armored ships. The only difference was that the coffin of the Dragon King flew at a very fast speed, which was comparable to the peak of the imperishable realm. The inhibition formation of the coffin of the Dragon King was strong as well. Not even warriors of the Eternal Realm could detect it, but warriors of the Noble Lord Realm should be able to. That being said, warriors of the noble lord realm were not everywhere. As long as they were not close to cities and they were not unlucky, it would be hard for them to run into warriors of the noble lord realm in the wild. Luli planned to let Yu Huashan fly the coffin of the Dragon King for some distance, away from the territories of the Qin family and the Du family. Then, he would figure out a way to take an iron-armored ship to the mystic armor region. After a while, Yu Huashan had learned how to control the coffin of the Dragon King. Yu Huashan's Xian energy was profound. It wouldn't be a problem for him to hold on for a couple of years. Luli was relieved. He sat on the coffin of the Dragon King to rest. Mingyu sat cross-legged at the side, forcing the remaining voodoo poison out. At this moment, he stopped and looked at Luli, waiting for his explanation. Luli trusted Mingyu completely. Yu Huashan was Mingyu's slave, so Luli didn't have to hide anything. He explained, "This is the coffin of the Dragon King. It used to be in the tomb of the Dragon King, but it flew away. There should be a remnant demon soul inside, but I don't know what it is exactly. That demon tried to take over my body, so for a while, I was under his control. After entering the nefarious sorcery mountain, I coincidentally killed the remnant of the demon soul, and that's how I managed to fly out of the nefarious demon mountain." Luli didn't explain very clearly. He had many secrets that he hadn't revealed yet. It wasn't that he didn't trust them. It was just that the silver dragon mark in his soul pond was so strange that he didn't want to tell anyone. A secret that only one person knew was a secret. Mingyu had no doubts about Lu Li's explanation. It was true that Lu Li didn't look like himself. His eyes were bloodshot, and he was roaring ferociously. It was obvious that he was either crazy or under the control of a demon. How could Lu Li kill such a powerful demon? Neither of them asked about this. Mingyu, on the other hand, took it for granted. Lu Li was Lu Renhuang's son. Of course, Lu Renhuang would leave some treasures for Lu Li. Why did Lu Li control the coffin of the Dragon King to fly away? Mingyu had thought it through. He took off the ghost mask, handed it to Lu Li, and said, "Young master, wear this mask. It will be safer for you to hide." Many people had seen Lu Li's face, and he had injured many. It was safer for him to wear a mask. At least, no warrior below the noble lord realm could see through him. "Young master, the heavens will help a good man," Yu Huashan exclaimed. Lu Li was so lucky to be able to survive under such circumstances. He pondered for a while and then asked curiously, "Young master, when you were pulling the coffin, you could create dozens of clones. Is it the Upanishad you comprehended, or was it the work of a demon?" Mingyu said that, a shadow displacement profound skill. Even though Yu Huashan didn't think Lu Li had such abilities, he was still curious. That was why he asked. Lu Li rolled his eyes and said, "Do you think I can learn a profound meaning in my realm? Shadow displacement is my Xian skill, but the demon has integrated some secret skill or profound meaning into it. That is why it is so powerful." Mingyu nodded. Yu Huashan raised his eyebrows and made a suggestion. "Young master, since the demon used your body to release this skill, then there must be some traces. Think back and try to understand the situation when it was released. Maybe you will have the chance to deduce this profound meaning." Mingyu paused for a second and then said with excitement, Yes, young master. This is a rare opportunity. Even though it was the demon that controlled you to release the skill, there must be some residual memory in your mind. As long as you deduce according to your memory, you might be able to learn this profound meaning. This profound meaning is very powerful. It must be at least to the 5th rank. If you can learn it, then you will shock the entire world. Learning a profound meaning at the age of 16 at the Soul Pond realm would shock the world. Lu Li would become the most talented genius of the Central Plains. Lu Li was tempted as well. He had thought about this back at the Wicked Sorcery Mountain. The Xian skill that could pierce through space and create dozens of clones was indeed miraculous. Not even a noble Lord Realm warrior could tell the difference. If he could learn the two skills, his fighting abilities wouldn't be improved by much, but his ability to escape and survive would be greatly enhanced. At once, Lu Li sat with his legs crossed and tried hard to recall what it was like when the demon used his body to release the two skills. However, he thought about it for an entire hour, but he couldn't find a single memory in his mind. He could remember the scene when the two profound meanings were released, but he didn't know how the demon did it. There was no memory of this in his mind. No. He opened his eyes and shook his head. Mingyu and Yu Huaxin sighed with pity. Luli thought about it. When he released the two skills, his soul pond was completely occupied by the demon. The demon didn't devour his soul, so their soul stones were separated. Naturally, Luli didn't know how the demon used the two skills. Such a shame, Luli said to himself. It would be great if the dragon pattern in his soul pond could transfer all the demon's memory to him. It was very likely that he would be able to use the demon's memories to comprehend many mystiques and even powerful, profound meanings. Also, there must be a way to open the coffin of the Dragon King and the way to enter the Hall of Wicked Sorcery in the demon's memory. If Luli could get the complete memory of the demon, then all the treasures in the coffin of the Dragon King and the Hall of Wicked Sorcery would be his. The coffin of the Dragon King was in Lu Li's hands now. He would be able to open it sooner or later. But the Hall of Wicked Sorcery was too bad. He might never come back after leaving here. If it was him, he couldn't run away. If it wasn't, he couldn't force it. Luli stopped thinking about it. He asked Yu Huaxin to focus on flying the coffin of the Dragon King. Luli took out the map and checked it. Pointing to a city on the map, he said, "Let's go here and find a chamber of commerce in this prefectural city. We will take iron-armored ships and leave the northern central plains first." Okay. Yu Huaxin and Mingyu looked at each other. Mingyu focused on getting the toxins out, while Yu Huaxin focused on flying the coffin of the Dragon King. Luli gave some crystals to Little White and ate some food himself. Then he sat with his legs crossed to recover his Xian energy. He had consumed too much Xian energy recently. After cultivating for a day and a night, Luli had recovered some Xian energy. The coffin of the Dragon King had been flying in the wild. It was safe and it never ran into any powerful warriors. It had flown for a long time. It should have left the territory of the Qin family by now. The night was cold. Luli opened his eyes and looked around. Yu Huaxin was focused on controlling the coffin of the Dragon King, and Mingyu was still trying to get the toxins out. Luli stared at the scenery passing by on both sides. He was still unwilling to give up. He tried to recall the memory of when the demon released the skill, trying to see if there was anything missing. Right at that moment, the silver dragon mark in Lu Li's soul pond suddenly glowed. Then some strange information appeared in Lu Li's mind. After Lu Li sorted out the information, he trembled with excitement. The information was a piece of memory, the memory of when the demon integrated and improved his apparition skill. After he sorted out the information and committed it all to memory, Lu Li opened his eyes and laughed, which scared Mingyu and Yu Huaxin. Lu Li grinned and explained, I may have the chance to master the skill that allows me to have more than 60 clones. Chapter 305. The silver dragon mark in Lu Li's soul pond appeared out of nowhere. According to Lu Li's speculation, it might have something to do with the animal tooth pendant. It could even be transformed by the animal tooth pendant. When he was concentrating his soul pond, the animal tooth pendant disappeared. He searched the entire room but couldn't find it. When he was concentrating his soul pond, he felt the animal tooth pendant was glowing and heating up. Then there was a shadow of a dragon moving forward in his bloodline. Could it be understood this way? When the animal tooth pendant entered his body, it turned into a silver dragon mark and was engraved in his soul pond? The animal tooth pendant was a piece of treasure left by his father, Lu Renwang. Lu Renwang could defeat all the warriors of the human sovereign realm. What treasures could he not have? Why did he leave one for his son? It must be a piece of treasure. Little White followed Lu Li because of the animal tooth pendant. Also, the animal tooth pendant could increase the efficacy of medicine and improve blood. All these were proof that the animal tooth pendant was extraordinary. The reason why Lu Li awakened the silver dragon bloodline was also because of the animal tooth pendant. Therefore, Lu Li's speculation that the silver dragon mark in his soul pond was transformed by the animal tooth pendant was based on facts. The silver dragon mark saved his life at the wicked sorcery mountain and transferred the demon's memory to him twice. Those were the things he wanted the most. Lu Li had a deep suspicion that the silver dragon mark transformed from the animal tooth pendant was a living thing with a mind and a soul. Otherwise, why didn't the demon do anything to protect the master after torturing him for such a long time? Why did the demon take action to suppress the master's soul after it entered his soul pond? Then, the demon should have transferred all the demon's memory to Lu Li at once after consuming the demon's soul. How could it be transferred bit by bit? Lu Li couldn't figure it out. The silver dragon mark in his soul pond didn't move at all. It was quietly engraved on the soul pond like a sculpture. Lu Li focused his psychic power on the silver dragon mark. For an hour, there was no reaction from the silver dragon mark. Lu Li had to give up and go through the demon's memory. The memory was complicated. The demon stole the apparition Xian skill from Lu Li's mind and then integrated it with a profound meaning called mirror image. In the end, it could generate more than 60 clones. All the clones were so real that not even warriors of the noble lord realm could tell them apart. Profound meaning of mirror image. Lu Li shouted. Both his body and soul were excited. The profound meaning was something that only warriors of the eternal realm could learn. But he had the detailed process of releasing it. Although the transmitted memories did not contain any understanding of the mirror image profound meaning, there were detailed steps on how to fuse the apparition profound skill and how to release the fused divine skill. It was like Lu Li was a kid who knew nothing. A powerful master controlled his body to release. Lu Li's body with a sword. The sword technique was very profound, and the child could not understand the sword intent contained within. The sword of the Li remembered. Li's pawn Li's with the sword Li of the pond. Lu Li didn't need to perceive the sword intent. All he needed to do was to memorize it, imitate every move of this master, and finally release this set of sword skills. Li with profound with it. Xian profound to with to with zhou with to Li Ling was pawn with of ping chi she with. Therefore, Lu Li didn't think it was important to learn the profound meaning of mirror image. What mattered was he could produce more than 60 clones. Not even warriors at the peak of the noble lord realm could tell them apart. All roads lead to the same destination. As long as one's power could grow, it didn't matter whether one was learning profound meaning, or even some bullshit asterisk T. What mattered was the improvement of one's abilities. When Lu Li thought of this, he completely forgot about what was happening outside and focused on memorizing the steps and techniques of releasing the godly skill from the demon's memory. Lu Li had mastered it. He had to understand it himself first and then try to verify it. In the end, he would see if he could release the skill. It would take some time to get to Lu Li's prefectural city. Lu Li sat with his legs crossed and started to meditate. Yu Huashan controlled the coffin of the Dragon King to move forward. After a moment of excitement, Ming Yu began to force the toxins out. After a day and a half, Yu Huashan checked the terrain and woke Lu Li up. Young master, we will arrive at the Yangon city in an hour. Lu Li opened his eyes, looked at Ming Yu and asked, Ming Yu, how are you doing? Ming Yu nodded and said, I am fine now. The toxins are all out and I am almost recovered. That's good. Lu Li took out 6 elixirs from his ring, handed them over, and said, Here are 6 elixirs. Each of them is worth 40 to 50 million Xian crystals. Go and sell them. Let's first buy something similar to the Ghost Banshee mask to hide our identities. It will be better if not even noble Lord Realm warriors can find out. Also, go and contact the Chamber of Commerce. I will take a ship to the Heavens Roars city. Ming Yu took over the elixirs. He had always been on his own. He never joined any force or family. He could reach the noble Lord Realm only because of the mystical materials left by Lu Renhuang. Therefore, Mingyu was not rich. He didn't refuse Lu Li's offer of hundreds of millions of mystical materials. Mingyu looked at Yu Huashan, who knew what Mingyu meant. Yu Huashan told him to stay close to Lu Li and protect him. Whoosh, Mingyu flew out directly to the Yong'an city. Mingyu had been wearing the ghost mask. Low-level scouts could not wear the ghost mask. Therefore, as long as they didn't run into patriarchs of the Qin family or the Du family, Mingyu's identity would not be exposed. Lu Li and Yu Huashan found a secluded valley nearby to hide. The shield of the coffin of the Dragon King was always open, so scouts couldn't find them. Lu Li continued to study the memory fragments of the demon. The release of the skill was complicated, and Lu Li didn't understand many things. It would take him more than half a month to fully understand it. Then he would have to try and verify it. It would take him 1 or 2 months to completely master it. This was Lu Li's best estimate. It was also possible that he couldn't understand it at all. Even if he did, he wouldn't be able to release it. Anything was possible. If the coffin of the Dragon King was only open and the shield was not flying, then Lu Li wouldn't have to pour Xian energy into it all the time. Yu Huashan began to cultivate as well to recover his Xian energy, physical strength, and energy. He wanted to get his body back to its peak state. Mingyu left for a long time and sneaked back when it was dark. He was wearing a silver monster mask, similar to the ghost mask, but more ferocious and horrifying. Yu Huashan deactivated the shield and used his psychic power to check. His eyes glowed. He nodded to Lu Li and said, "This is a good mask. My psychic power is a bit blurry. I think only warriors at the peak of the Noble Lord realm can see it." Mingyu flew over and handed a silver mask to Lu Li and Yu Huashan respectively. He said, "Young master, this is the silver golem mask. It can protect you from warriors below the peak of the Noble Lord realm. Of course, warriors of the Noble Lord realm who cultivate their souls will not be able to. This mask is expensive. It costs 40 million Xian crystals each." Good. Even though 40 million was expensive, Lu Li thought it was worth it. Then Mingyu took out 2 tokens, handed them over, and said, "I have contacted a merchant ship. Tomorrow night, we will board at the south of the Yong'an city. It is a large ship of the Chamber of Commerce of Delicacy. We will go directly to the Heaven's Roar city. Each of us will spend 50 million Xian crystals. Young master, these are the remaining Xian crystals. Keep the Xian crystals. We need them later." That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.